party people in the place to be, vandals, and people who don't accidentally push the button twice. Welcome to a brand new episode of Pink Buzz. We were supposed to have a special guest, our buddy Michael or Michael Poet Air from Beyond the Pages, or Outside the Pages, I guess, was supposed to be joining us, but he got waylaid, so we're going to be doing this one alone. But this episode is Technophobia. We're going to be talking about books that deal with technology that have serious ramifications. It's not always technology gone bad, as we kind of tagline this thing, but sometimes it'll be human error. And we got a really, really great lineup of books. Joey, what are some of the books we got for the people tonight?
We'll be covering quite an array of books, like you said, a variety. So we'll have Monolith, which is a magnetic press book. We'll have Number One with a Bullet. I believe that's Image. We'll have Crowded, which is another Image title. Ghost in the Shell, which is a manga, as well as Appleseed, which is another manga. And seeing as how Michael's not here, we might be skipping I Breathe the Body and Bite Sized. But we might touch on that depending on if time allows. So we'll see. It seems to me I'm missing.
Tokyo Ghost.
What's that?
Tokyo Ghost.
Oh, Tokyo Ghost as well. Yes, true. By Remender. Yeah.
Remender.
An
Yes,
SMG.
Yeah.
Don't do that again.
Sorry.
No. Do it again.
I'm 27 and I'm still doing finger guns. Like,
It's so awesome.
I'm despicable.
But yeah, we got a fun show planned ahead. But first, we're gonna do our check-in. I know it's been kind of a slim week for all of us, but Goose, do you got anything for the good people?
Yeah. I'm a glutton for sadness. It's not an emotion that most people want to feel, but books that make me feel sad are some of my favorites. And I read one of my most favorite sad books this week, and this isn't where I parked my car, and that is We Three by Grant Morrison and Frank Quietly. It is one of my absolute favorite books. It's only 3 issues. If you haven't had a chance to read it, I highly recommend it. Government makes robot animals that are used for warfare, and they're to be put down, and the scientist lets them escape, and it just gets sadder from there. Like, I could just cry thinking about it now. And also, I read some more. I've been reading Jim Starlin, Thanos stuff. Because I never read his stuff, but him and Ron Lim on Thanos Quest as he's going for the Infinity Stones, it's some of the most beautiful fucking work I've seen in comics. It's phenomenal. But that was really all I read outside of what we're covering this week.
You see any cool flicks or listen to any cool records by any chance?
Yeah, man, I've been listening to a lot of hardcore punk this week. Most of the stuff that Matt was throwing my way, but also I listened to a lot of fucking Wingnut Dishwashers Union, which was one of Pat the Bunny's bands that I like a whole lot, just some folk punk. But Molcat Doma is a Belarusian cold wave band. It sounds like just it's great, almost like 80s-esque music from the whole new wave era, but spoken like Joy Division. Ian
Curtis.
I can't remember. Yeah, Ian Curtis. It's like a Belarusian Ian Curtis, and I absolutely fucking love it. All of it's in Russian. It's really like dark and gloomy, like just mopey shit, but it's I love it. Also, the Mormon hardcore band Tartar Control. If you haven't checked out Tartar Control, I think I sent y'all a link in the Discord, and it's some good shit. Check it out. Nothing like Mormons rocking the fuck out.
Indeed. Joey, what you got?
All right, but before I do my check-in, I just remembered I did forget 2 books. There was Tokyo Ghost and Friendo. I forgot to mention before.
Well,
so we'll be talking about Friendo as well. All right, so my check-in. All right, I read Frontiersman, an Image book. The first issue just came out this week, so it's one of the rare times I get to pick up a book the week of and talk about it. It was a pretty solid first issue. It's talks about an old retired superhero who is trying to kind of get pulled back into the fold because he was a superhero activist back in the day, and he feels like he's out of touch with the world and not sure if he wants to help out this group of people with their cause. And so the story progresses from there, and it's pretty fun. It's one of those stories about over the hill type, and I liked it. There was a great letter from the author in the back by Patrick Kinlan. He writes about his views on the big two and why a lot of the big two titles are stagnant and lack maybe a little bit of quality and innovation. So it's definitely an interesting read from the letter of the authors as well. I hit Crush and Lobo #4. I've been digging this series.
Man, that cover's awesome, dude. That's one for the wall right there. Look at that.
Yeah, I got 2 covers for that. I don't know where the other one is. I can't find it, but anyway.
Is that Jen Bartel that did that cover?
This one? No, I don't know who does this one. I'd have to open it and look, and I don't.
It's got them Bartel colors, though. I see what you mean, Goose.
Yeah. As soon as I saw it,
it's written PG on it, so I don't know who PG is.
Yeah. Well, they did some awesome cover art.
Yeah, and it continues the story of Lobo fucking over his daughter Crush. So it's fun. I've been enjoying it. It's got definitely a YA vibe to it, but definitely done well. I've been enjoying that one quite a bit. That's one of the few when I get it each month, I read it right away. I gave this one a try because Elle was asking me what I thought when she saw it in my my new comic book day video was No Ghost in Hiroshima. And this is a Scout comic where they give you the first issue, then they release the entire story in trade form after the one issue. And I don't think I'll be picking up the trade. I love the cover. The cover is beautiful. But yeah, the story just didn't do it for me. So I think I'll just read the one issue and that's it. It's the story of a doctor who regains his faith and some demons are after him and kill him, and his apprentice or a doctor he's taking under his wing, he gives him a special case that he has to go somewhere and bring it to this other person, and he's skeptical about like the whole religious demons, and he's an atheist, so they give you a little bit, but I found they really didn't give you enough to hook you to want you to buy that trade. So maybe in the future they'd have to do a bit of a better job with that one issue to really give you something really good to hook people to want to buy the trade after. After that, I hit Batman, Reptilian 2 and 3, because I think Saturday was Batman Day, so I figured I'd read a couple Bat titles to
I thought that was
still
me.
Here.
Yeah, you're still here.
You got glitchy for a second.
Did you lose?
Oh no.
Did you guys lose me?
No,
you're getting a little choppy, but yeah, you're back. Okay, sounds like.
Okay, because I saw the.
Oh, well, I'll just chime in on Batman Reptilian because it's a. Oh, is he back?
I can't tell. Joe, log in and log back out of the.
Hear me? I'll leave and come back in.
Yeah. I'll touch on Batman Reptilian for a second because I've also been reading it and it's fucking phenomenal. One of my favorite things is Liam Sharp doing the art in it. Garth Ennis is writing it, and one of the things that Liam touched on was that this was supposed to be Garth and Steve Dillon, and Steve Dillon sadly passed away, rest in peace. But Liam Sharp taking up the mantle to do with Garth Ennis has been absolutely wonderful and phenomenal. He's one of the best artists in the game right now, and that every time his name's on a book, I pick it up.
His art's just that sharp, would you say?
Yeah, Liam Sharp. He did the work on.
No, I was making a pun. Like you would say his art is very sharp? My bad.
You leave the bad puns to me, Johnny.
But yeah, getting into my check-in, I needed a little break between reading this, so I dove back in and I reread Luther Strode, read all three books of that. I got the hardcover. That's always a lot of fun. I reread Spaceman by Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Rizzo. It's a really, really kind of cool conspiracy theory esque adventure. Kind of deals with some kidnapping and NASA experiments. It's a lot of fun. I reread Mart Valis by my buddy EPHK. Not much rereading with that one. It's just a visual trip, and it's so beautiful. I recommend everybody get that book. But that led me to talking to one of my new buddies, Adam J.C. Ward. He talked me into getting the omnibus for a book called The Puma Blues, which I'm going to be reading vigorously this week because in the next two shows are going to be interviews. So we're actually going to get some pleasure reading for a couple weeks there, guys, because we got Adam Reese, the creator of Black Blizzard, coming in next week, and John Lee's the week after that. But Julie, you want to finish your check-in? You were on Batman Reptilian.
I was here.
I think Joe's glitching still.
Oh,
That was pretty much it. Pushing up. I'm still
Okay,
glitching.
cool.
Fucking A.
A little bit. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell. But I'm going to lead us into our books. I'm going to start us out with Friendo, which is written by, of course, Alex Packnindel. It has great art by Martin Simmons. It is colored by D. Kniffy? Kniffy? Kneff? How do you say
Cuney.
that?
I think it's Cuney.
Cuney?
He does. Yeah.
Letters by Taylor Esposito. Let's see. Tara Ferguson, white noise marketing. Man, I wish Michael could have been here to hear me say those words. But I'm going to read the synopsis on the back really fast. Leo wasn't allowed toys as a kid, but now he's all grown up and he's going to take yours. He used to play by the rules, but then governments and corporations set fire to the rules and still expected him to behave. He probably would have if it hadn't been for his new friend, Jerry. See, Jerry isn't human. He's a personalized marketing VR and he's malfunctioning. And this collects the entire thing of Friendo. And like it says, this book starts out with this really kind of brutal flashback of this kid who wants this action figure while his dad's preaching to some surfer that's not having any of it. And the kid's like, Dad, let me have this toy. I saved up my money for it. And the dad's like, okay, you got money, give it to me. And he like literally stuffs it in this poor kid's mouth and then tells him that like all this stuff about money is sin. And this lady comes up and basically tells him she works for Child Protective Services and he just done the stupidest thing he could do. And basically it shows you that like this kid got raised away from that even though he was about 9 or 10 when he got taken away from it. And we jump ahead and we see that he is kind of a semi-famous person that does dumb stunts to try to sell movies. He wrecks cars on Hollywood Boulevard to basically promote the new Fast and Furious movies that are coming out. And he is very malcontent with this. You can see why. And he's got this girlfriend who's really into him, but he is, for lack of a better word, kind of a sociopath. He only really cares about himself, but she gets him the present that is going to change, ruin, and basically make his life. She buys him the specs that and allow him to meet his buddy Jerry. And Jerry is, like it says, the optimal companion. He is VR modified to be a projection of yourself. And that's why this is Technophobia because, that's a great idea and everything, unless you're a completely flawed human being. And then having a complete VR representation of yourself, helping you learn to do and manage new things, is not optimal. But it starts off innocent enough. See, uh, Leo, he basically does a heroic thing first off with Jerry. Him and his friends were trying to do this gig at a strip club, but a fire happens with a windstorm and they have to escape, and he helps them get out. But an accident happens, which kind of fuses him to his goggles, and Jerry's kind of with him all the time, and they are more than just a little bit connected. And with resources drying up, and the girlfriend kicking him out, Leo just kind of loses it and he decides that he is going to rob this store and get that action figure he wanted as a kid. This stunt causes like this huge media outcry, and he becomes this kind of anti-hero type character with his Jerry. And basically the marketing for the goggles make him a spokesperson in a way, and he travels around and robs these stores with his imaginary friend and gets welcomed until things get even crazier. And do any of you guys want to jump in and kind of talk about where it goes from there?
Oh, so they basically turn his one robbery exploit into the most watched television show in this little fake, or I say fake, in this book. And so he's now going around and robbing Corn Utopia, which I imagine is just a brand of Walmart. And he pisses off the wrong fucking people. And he's also pissed off with himself. And Jerry, his virtual reality friend, is there to help see him through and kind of keep him going. And it just leads to crazier and crazier shit. And it's so fucking good. One
thing that happens is Jerry gets shot saving Leo, which shouldn't be possible. And Jerry still sticks around, though, as kind of like this grotesque VR zombie. Kind of reminds me of American Werewolf in London, his zombie buddy that talks to him. That's really kind of the vibes I got from it. Go ahead, Goose.
I was just saying, I'd seen this book a couple of times. Didn't know anything about it before I dove into it. I knew it had something to do with technology because what we were covering this week, our topic. But I was so blown away by it because what better way to push products than having people start to rely on this virtual reality friend that is only around when you have purchasing intent. And that is what drives a lot of it. And that after he gets shot in that store, all the stuff that he sticks around for is the fact that Leo is now making money and making deals and becoming wealthy and popular, and they get their own little cult, and it just, oh dude, I was so blown away by this book. Alex Pagnadel has not written anything terrible, and as much as I love Redfort, this is the book that I'm going to be thinking about when I think of Alex Pagnadel now. Because in the art, Martin Simmons' art, the people, there was something really strange about the people's faces. Like the people in the background, there's a lot of detail in the main characters, but a lot of the people in the background had these blank faces without much detail, and it added a creepiness to the story to me.
Right. Kind of an uncanny valley type thing, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. They almost looked like crash test dummies. And Leo's unstableness is just like when he tries to hang himself and he's got the sign around his neck, not kinky, just sad. Oh, dude, I laughed so fucking hard at that. I cracked up as soon as I. Oh, go ahead.
The funniest stuff, Joe. What do you think about that Russian hitman and his trip to Disneyland? Like, do you want to talk about that a little bit? I figured that would have been one of your highlights.
Yeah, this book is so quirky. There's so many little things that are just dark but funny, but done so dark it's humorous, right? Like Goose touched on, where he tries to hang himself and he puts a sign to say, "This isn't a kink thing. I was actually depressed and trying to kill myself," with his red slippers and in his nightgown, right? So and then you have this Russian guy who's a hard ass, like brutal, cold-blooded, like doesn't give a shit. He'll kill someone just for smiling at him wrong. And his dream is to go and spend a day out at Disney World, and he loves it. You see him on the rides like a little kid, and yet he's this coldest blooded killer you'll ever meet. And he wears those rabbit ears, and oh man, it's too funny. He's such a great character.
I love it that he gets asked the question at the end by Leo, what's with the rabbit ears, and he never explains it. And I think the fact that they don't explain the rabbit ears makes it all that much better, because I would have hated to see him with those rabbit ears and giggling every time that I saw him. And he's got so many good lines in the book too, but I didn't want there to be some really dumb explanation. I didn't want there to be an explanation. I loved it because what did they call him? Oh fuck, he had a nickname. Oh god damn it, what was it? Not the mortician. Anyways, he has a funny nickname, and apparently all these little hitmen have funny nicknames. Like when he asks, "Oh, is she the Thumbs? I like her work." No, she's the dentist, and he's like, "Oh, fuck." The Disneyland thing. He has a line where he's talking to the leader of the Cornutopia, who has sent him to kill Leo because he is robbing his stores, and he's pissed. Which that guy's maniacal too. Their fucking human hunt thing that they do every year, like with the tax auditor from the IRS, that he has his grandson like just fucking blast. That part, like, it had a lot of creepy elements to it, but I think the leader of Cornutopia was definitely like the creepiest fucking part for me, because that guy was just like, if Leo is a sociopath, that guy was a complete psychopath. And man,
his name is Zajic the Cremator, by the way.
Oh, the Cremator. That's I knew it had something to do with like mortician work, but yeah, the Cremator, which I fucking love. And he has these great lines, and he's talking to the guy from Cornutopia, and he's like, I'm sitting here with my thumb up my ass, and you know what happens when you sit there with your thumb up your ass? It atrophies. And like he's going into it because he wants to kill, which he wanted to go to Disneyland, and he wanted to kill. And that's what he was being paid for, and that's what he wanted to fucking do. And I loved all the little interactions that he had, especially at the end of the book, where he rolls up on Leo. Like, it just, oh man, this was almost, I hate putting them in categories like this, but this was probably one of the best things that I read this week. If not, like, all the books were fantastic, but this was probably, Tokyo Ghost is definitely my favorite, but this one took the cake. Like, I had never read it, didn't know what it was about, and was pleasantly surprised and entertained by this book. It was, oh god, it was awesome.
Well, yeah, because Alex, had to have been pissed when he wrote this. I mean, this thing's like a punk rock album. It doesn't let up, and he lets you know every little thing about media and pop culture right now that has him upset and angry, and he does not hold back, him or Simmons, man. Like, this book is like it's not just like a slap to the face. It's like a steel toe boot kick to the face, man, like, of a story. And I appreciate the hell out of it because it's very blunt. And another thing that so when I first started reading it, I'm like, I don't like this main character at all. But as I kept going, you're not supposed to like him. It's not like a story about to make you think that he's a good person. It's just, hey, enjoy this train wreck because it's going to be pretty funny. And I appreciate that some people can write a book like that and make it as damn entertaining as this one was.
I agree with you on that. The thing that got me was as he's spiraling down through this, like, I guess just completely losing his mind with seeing not Leo, but seeing Jerry and all the things that are going on. His appearance. He goes from being, moderately attractive. He's dancing at that nightclub dressed as when he has the interaction, he goes, "You seen people walking around dressed up like people from the Wizard of Oz?" And he goes, "Just the one." "Oh, which one?" "Oh, okay, it's me." He was the Tin Man. But as it gets towards the end of the book, like, he's got a tooth missing. He's like stopped taking care of himself. He has just completely thrown himself into Jerry's arms. And I didn't like Leo, but like you said, you're not supposed to like him. He is everything wrong with consumerism and a lot of what we see nowadays as normal, where we idolize these I don't want to call them dirt bags, but people do, but like people put a lot of thought and love into like keeping up with the Kardashians. And this is like what would happen if the Kardashians were murderous maniacs robbing Walmarts. And I loved it.
It's like you say, the idolized part is definitely very present in this. And they touch a lot on religion, and there's a lot of symbolism in it, towards religion and how technology has become a new religion for people now. We don't worship beliefs in God or acting well. We worship a tweet. We worship how many views we can get. We worship the viral. Like, we just want to be seen, and we worship all these fucking social media platforms and devote so much time and attention to it. And he nails it home. Even when his glasses get broken, the crack in the glasses forms a cross. The box the glasses come in, the logo of the company that makes them is a cross with a circle. The front of their main headquarters is a cross on the front. So he makes these parallels from like this technology, what they're ruling the population and deciding what we're doing, kind of like the church used to do back in the day when we came and tried to found North America. Who funded all that? The church. But now the church is slowly losing power, and all these major multimedia corporations are gaining power and deciding. Like, now it's even like they're selling our personal information to people, and it's going to court to try to tell them they're not allowed. And like these Zuckerbergs and people like that don't give a shit. They just do whatever they think they can because they're so rich and powerful. They think they are God, just like the guy who owns the company, who thinks he can just go and exact judgment on people by shooting them because he feels like you sinned against me and I'm all powerful and I will exact my wrath on you by killing you. And he shows this perfectly in this book, and it's incredible how he makes these parallels from religion to how we worship technology or social media. It's insane, and how it has a grip on us. It's really well done.
If technology and social media platforms are the new religion, let Pink Buzz be your church.
Well, yep, we'll be that one that has the AA meetings in it after the the what's it called, with the Wednesday supper. Yeah, then we'll be that.
Or even
one.
like Johnny said before, when Jerry jumps in front of the bullet and saves him, kind of like a guardian angel, like a spirit. Like, he shouldn't be able to do that. There's like a weird mystical aspect to it there too. Like, how did he survive this? It's like a miracle, you know. And what saved him? The technology, his phone, his glasses, the AI hologram saved him, you know. So there's all these themes in it that he makes comments on religion.
When Leo and his girlfriend are having the conversation, doesn't he actually call Jerry his guardian angel? When he's talking about Jerry saved me, like as they're sitting there, and she's like, you know, he's bought all this shit, and he's just sitting in the thing, and she's even before then, like as he's developing a relationship with Jerry, he's continually having to buy shit to keep him around because he has I made him his God, made him his Messiah, where he needs him. And so to keep him around, he keeps on purchasing. Like you said, that draws on like how we used to have religious tithes, where people would pay 10% of their annual income to the church. And so I didn't have that thought until just right now as you're bringing up religion, but it definitely consumerism and social media have definitely become the new religions, and this book really does hit on that super hard.
And even his father in the beginning is extremely religious and strict. Right at the beginning, it sets the tone for that theme throughout the book. So I mean, it's a really well done book, and Martin Simmons' art in this is totally different than what maybe people are used to. So if you pick it up, seeing his name, be ready for a different style from him. It's much more just line art. It's a simpler, less painterly style. It's clean. It's vibrant. It's bright. It's not as dark as maybe what you'll find in the Department of Truth, but it fits the story and the tone so well. But it might take you a little while to get used to it, but it grows on you as the story goes because it fits the tone of the book so well.
And yeah, our church, we have the Right Reverend Gonzo Tijano Heinman. That is Goose's title of the church, I guess. Right on, Randy. And damn, dude, yeah, this book, I remember when I first got it because like I had read Pac Nandel's other works, and they're a lot more moodier. They're a lot more serious and heartfelt in a way. You know what I mean? A little more brutal with their. I thought, but like then I read this, and this one's a lot funnier, but it's definitely his hardest hitting work that I've read so far.
Is this This is a Comixology original, right? You can get it
No,
free with the
Vault book. It's
Vault.
one of their
it's a Vault
second
book?
wave.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember if it was a Comixology one or not. Okay.
But yeah, no, like you said, as hard hitting as I found Red Fork on what it touched on with addiction and the problems that we see in like those small West Virginian towns, this kind of put the entire country in the spotlight for how we idolize these social media personalities, and like I said, the jabs at consumerism throughout the whole thing definitely like kept me giggling when Leo's freaking out about how the action figure doesn't look like him, and they're trying to tell, oh well, you know, we need it to look more messianic, and we need, you know, the whole thing that they did with the action figures, the following around with the action figures that are buried out in the desert because they were the one action figure he wanted to buy that day with his dad contained cadmium and lead and all kinds of other stuff, and kids were getting sick, and so they buried them out in the desert like the E.T. Super Nintendo game and Atari game. Yeah, Atari, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm it's before my time. No, but no, they buried him out in the desert. And
little bastard.
Yeah, you ageist fucks. No, I thought that was really interesting that the one thing that he wanted was that action figure, and they kept on pulling in the action figure to him, and it even ends with him going out to the desert because he just wants one of those fucking Action Joe action figures. And I thought it was really great, especially the scene that leads Jerry to malfunction, which is in the first issue where the fires in Los Angeles are burning and it's getting real bad, and he loses his friends, and Jerry's leading them, and you know, he leads them to this crazy homeless guy that for a second Leo thinks is his father. And he's got a speck of gold, and he's talking about how it's the only thing he has in the world, and the winds take it from his fingers. And then he's like, well, I lost all my possessions. And he pulls out a knife, and he's like, so give me your wallet. And he's like, you're mugging me? And oh, man. And so he goes to try and stab him, and something happens with the like a power cord, and it zaps him, and he should be dead. But he's not. It has just caused Jerry to malfunction and become basically I wouldn't say a real person, but becomes more real than he was when he was just a part of the glasses. And I think that messing up ties in with him being able to stop that bullet. But the fact that he walks around for the rest of the comic with that bullet wound in his stomach was just, oh, I loved it. Like you said, it's the zombie thing from American Werewolf in Paris, which I haven't seen that movie in years, and now I'm going to go back and watch it this week.
Watch London, not Paris.
Yeah, London.
But the sequel is Paris, no?
Yeah, and it's terrible. But I really like this comic because it reminds me of that era, that Punkorama era of skate punk, man. It has that same kind of, dude, like, yeah, this stuff's going on and it's messed up, and yeah, we're talking about it, but we're part of it too, you know. Like we're you know, that's my favorite thing that Alex said about this is like, yeah, all this shit that I'm making fun of, I'm guilty of as well. And I'm just like, that's so gangster, dude. At least you're willing to admit that, you know what I mean? I think that's why one of the reasons why I like him so very much.
And you know, like Jerry, they hint at how he's like not altruistic, or he's kind of got a little evil side, is when he sees his friend on the street and the self-driving car hits his friend and kills him.
Yeah.
And you think it's Jerry. That's, you know, they lead you to believe that Jerry's the one who hacked the car and drove his friend over and ends up killing him. So, well, you know, there's that technology gone bad theme there a little bit, and you know,
not just that, but the scene when shortly after that, when Leo's girlfriend comes home and she's trying to, I guess, pull him away from Jerry, and he's yelling at her, and they're having the conversation. She's like, "Put the knife down," and he didn't even realize he was holding the knife. He was willing to defend Jerry by slicing his old lady up, and that ties back in with religion. You know, there's not very many wars that haven't been started or fights that haven't been started because of religious beliefs, and so if they're taking the technology as a religion in this book, it's very apt that Leo would be ready to stab even somebody that he loves just because of their difference in beliefs.
Sorry, are you asking me to rewatch American Werewolf in Paris? I will if you really want me to, but I do agree London is so good. Like, in my opinion, it didn't need a sequel. It ended perfectly.
It ain't Hollow Man, but it's all right.
Hey, dude, look at what you started last week. Don't even bring that up.
Last week, that was like 2 days ago.
Well, yeah. Time moves very slowly where I'm at, man. Like, I think a meteor hit and it was really pink. I have no idea of time anymore. Okay. I just itch my arm and rub ice cubes on it lately.
Like on Dave Chappelle where he slaps him. He's like, what the hell did you do that for? That was weeks ago. That was 5 minutes ago.
What got me is, babe, what are those flowers called? The ones outside.
The spider lily.
Oh yeah, so like we watched that movie, and then like I was outside today. I got home and I looked, and by the tree in my backyard, it seems like overnight these pink flowers had sprouted up, and Dakota's like, "Oh, those are spider lilies. They do that. It's the weather." And I was just like, "Yeah, I don't know. I've been smelling death in the air. We think our neighbors are murderers, and these pink flowers are popping up. I'm not drinking the water."
Do you live next to the Klopex? You ever see the movie The Burbs with Tom Hanks, where like they're where his neighbors are the killers? Like that I love that film. Every time anybody says I think my neighbors are killers, I'm like, you live next to the Klopex? But
there really has been a stench of death in the air, and my super rich neighbors.
Yeah, you live in Texas though.
Yeah, well, but they all right.
Hey,
so
Jen Rich is here. Hey, Jen.
Jen's here. Hey. She's one of our favorites. I love her.
She must be filing her comics again. That's usually when she listens to podcasts, when she's filing comics.
It came with the frame.
But I've had that stench of death in the air, but also they've had workers nonstop pouring this giant unnecessary concrete pad next to their house, and I just assume it's hiding dead bodies. But I can't talk about it too much because they have money, and I'll end up under the concrete slab. But back to the friendo.
Yeah. Anybody got any last words they want to say about it? Because all I got left is like, dude, if you haven't read this yet, check it out. It's definitely one of the books that really, really sells the idea that Vault is one of the best newer labels coming up right now. And yeah, dude, if you just want a gut punch of a little techno thriller that has some really funny parts, you cannot go wrong. Alex Packnadell and Simmons bring it home with this book.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's one I think everybody should pick up. Like I said, it was one of my favorites of the week. I enjoyed it a lot. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, it's definitely an unsettling read that might hit a little too close to home for some people. So it's definitely a good read. I recommend anyone go pick this up. You should find something in there that you'll enjoy. And it's got Packnadell and Simons, man, two great creators, so you can't go wrong.
Dakota just brought me animal crackers.
Perfect snack for you, Windingo. But next up, Joey, it's your pick, man. What do you want to go with?
I'll go with Crowded. We'll hit up some Crowded. All right, so this Crowded, it's an image book written by Chris Sabella. The art is done. It's actually a collaboration. So the line art is done by Rose Stein and Ted Brandt. The coloring is done by Triana Farrell. The lettering is done by Cardinal Ray. The edits are done by Juliet Capra. The logo design is done by Dylan Todd. Hey, they're pretty thorough with their credits on the main page. They even have the color flatteners credited here. You got Katie O'Mara, Holly McKend, and Alberto Hernandez. So they give credit to everyone. That's a great credit page for that book. They did a thorough job. So this book, Crowded, the story is of a girl who does a lot of like Uber jobs. Like it's Uber madness in this story. Like you can get hired to walk dogs, and it's all done through the app, and you can get hired to sit with people to keep them company. There's an app for every job in this. There's and there's a little thing that it's set in like modern times, like our time, but with like an alternate kind of version to it. And there's a thing called a Reaper contract where someone can start a GoFundMe to assassinate someone. And you have 30 days, and anyone can contribute money to this. And the more money that it accumulates, the GoFundMe, the more people want to go and assassinate this person. So as the amount goes up, you gain interest. So you have the main character who is called Charlie, I believe, right?
Yes.
Charlie. And she gets a contract put on her head through this Reaper app. And she ends up getting a nickname, the $1 Million Girl, because, I don't know, she's pissed off a lot of people, and a lot of people are contributing to it. I think even her mom at some point said that she didn't contribute to the GoFundMe to kill her, but, you know, like, she's not surprised, you know, basically. Like, there's something that this girl's done. She doesn't want to reveal it. But then there's another app called Defend, where she hires a bodyguard, where it's a bodyguard company, and you can hire them through a contract. And she hires Vita to protect her, her bodyguard. A tall, slim, kick-ass, bad, almost kind of has a Kill Bill style to her with her yellow jacket, and she's pretty badass. So she hires this girl to try to get her through the 30-day contract, because in Reaper, you have 30 days to kill this person, and once the 30 days are up, it's no longer legal to assassinate a person, and you can no longer get another Reaper contract. You're allowed one Reaper contract on a person for their lives. So if she can get through this, then she's safe for the rest of her life. She doesn't have to worry about it. So she hires Vita to protect her. And so then the story continues where they're just in LA driving around, trying to lay low. Tons of people are trying to kill her. There's a bunch of shenanigans. There's all kinds of craziness, fun. It's wacky. It's worth reading. It's just off the wall, fun. You know, like I don't know what else to say about it. You have to read it to get a feel for it, and it's fun. It's wacky. It's over the top. It's a great read. It's a fun read. It's not a serious book at all. It has a few serious themes, but it's a very entertaining read, to say the least. So I highly recommend people go read this, because it's a good time.
The thing that really nails it home is that Sabella really stuck the landing with the character Vita. Like, I don't like Charlie at all. I don't think you're supposed to, but
No.
Vita is just written so cool, and the way that she's drawn, I find her really sexy, and I just enjoy her character, watching her go full Chow Yun Fat defending this dumbass, and her little wig outs too. I really like that her and the dog get along.
Yeah, the little dog.
Yeah, her and the little
dog is called
she hated.
Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's from the first old lady that tries to kill her, right? She has that little chihuahua. And Charlie, because she's so despicable, when she gets away from the old lady, not only she steals the lady's dog. For what reason, you don't know, just to be a bitch, I guess. I don't know. But, you know, and
Jen, that's actually still supposed to be happening. Just COVID kind of put a kibosh on a lot of people's plans. But Sabella was saying with the third arc that's coming out that, like, the movie is still a go. So if you were interested in that, that's still supposedly happening.
I was actually going to bring that up when it became my turn. I'm glad Jen brought it up. But Joe, you were talking about how well the credits page was done. Christopher Sabella is really good about giving credit where credit is due, and he has spoken about it a lot on his Twitter, especially when people mention his books but don't mention the artist or the letter people that have helped on it. He is very quick to remind them that it was not just him, it was his whole team. But one of the things he also does is he's very prevalent in putting his money into good things, like him having Rebel Wilson sign several, I think it was like 100 copies of the book. They sold them, and the proceeds for it, I want to say, went to a trans rights group. And so he's very active in, like, putting his money to good use, which is very sad that people pirate the books instead of buying them. He had a he had a long but very righteous and rightful tirade on the fact that his book almost got canceled, but there was almost 300,000 people who had viewed it illegally online. But I digress. He's a great guy.
A reason why she probably hasn't found the single issues because it's not being released as single issues anymore. It's being released in trade form from now on. They're not releasing single issues of this anymore. So volume 3 will come out full, the one story, full volume. There will not be single issues for it for the third arc.
Yeah, that Bitterroot and there's another book, Excellence, are all just going to be released as trade.
Yeah, original. Yeah.
But Joe, you were talking about it being set in kind of an alternate reality, but the thing is I feel like it's not really an alternate reality because all of the things that she's doing are actual apps that they have, like when she loans her car.
There's more of a metaphorical reality than an alternate one because we do have apps where you target and get as many people as you can to assassinate somebody. It's just not literal. You just do it with their character. You know what I mean? That's what Twitter basically is. You know what I mean?
Cancel culture, basically.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, there all those apps, like the dog walking app. There is an app that's like Uber for dog walking, and there is an app for renting your car, especially like in San Francisco and a lot of like places in California, like especially the Silicon Valley. Like people are renting their cars out to people like a fucking Airbnb. And the dog walking thing or the friend thing, like almost like an escort, like those are actual like services. And I thought that they did that really well because we have put a lot of stock nowadays in people becoming these successful entrepreneurs by spending their entire day doing these gig jobs, is what they call them. And I think he perfectly encapsulated the whole gig job culture that is very prevalent nowadays. It did such a good job with it. And I know y'all two didn't like Charlie. I fucking love Charlie. I feel like me and her would have been great friends. And I know she's spastic and crazy, and she has no care.
Self-centered, selfish.
Yes.
Opinionated.
Yes.
And she's got no redeeming values, unlike you, Goose. I mean, honestly, dude.
Well, I'm just like, I love Vita, don't get me wrong, but all of Charlie's antics, like her disregard for personal safety, while she has $1 million hit on her head, she wants to go out and have drinks just so she can choke the shit.
That's the thing. Me and Joe were talking about this the other night, or last night online, and I think that Charlie is in on it. She has got a big secret. She's not telling Vita, and I don't trust her. I think she's evil, and I think that she probably put the hit on herself, dude, to tell you the truth.
Just to gain notoriety and exposure to become like a social media icon and celebrity. I wouldn't be surprised if she's that self-centered that the easiest way to get there would probably be to do this, to get all this exposure on the news everywhere, on everyone's phone. It's popping up. It's at $1 million, $1 million. She even has a nickname now called the $1 Million Girl. She's eating it up. She's loving it. And then she hires this poor girl to protect her and drags her into her twisted little world. That's what I think.
Burns her house down, like the only
Fucking
thing that she had that she cared
and
about.
She doesn't even seem like she cares. Like, oh well, do you have insurance? Let it burn. Collect all, cash in. Like, what the fuck? You know, like she has no regard or respect for anybody else's possessions, personal space. You know, like Charlie's despicable.
And my poor Vita, man, all that she had to go through because of this girl. And another thing I really like is it kind of lampoons that whole YouTube prank culture with the main villain of this, with his stuntman shit. Like, oh man, that was just done so good, especially at the time period when this was coming out, because that was still a very prevalent thing on YouTube. It's died off hardcore, but at the time, like,
prank, bro.
Yeah, exactly. That was in the heyday. Like Sam Pepper and them guys were still running around doing all that garbage. So,
see, I thought maybe Charlie and the other girl were in on it together. The assistant, the one who owns 51% of what's his name, the YouTube guy,
Dickhead McGee.
Yeah, I thought maybe his manager or whatever. I thought maybe kind of in on it with Charlie to try to build this big, and then she's gonna dump what's his name and then manage Charlie after. I don't know. That's another just
I remember
theory
the
that's way out
assistant's
there.
name being Cameron, but I don't remember the dickhead's name. But he really, like, he's worried about views, and he's trying to do this and he's trying to do that, and like it's the same thing that the YouTubers that were doing this prank stuff, when they started to like fall off and they started doing wackier and wackier shit. I think he perfectly encapsulated that. Like, this book really, I don't know when all that stuff was going down, because when did the first volume come out? Was that like 2016, 2018?
2018, 2019, yeah, just at the tail end of that, all that, the prankster era of YouTube.
So I was like, I'm in my late 20s now. No, like all that time from like 2015 to 2018, I was like 21 to 24, and so like that's all you really saw was those types of guys on YouTube. Your Jake Pauls, your Jake and Logan Paul, doing the stupid shit like that. And I really think that the guy, somebody find out his name. I need to look it up now, because I'm gonna keep on calling him that guy or Dickhead McGee. But he really like was the perfect personification of
Trotter.
those. Trottergram. Yeah, hit it up. Like he embodied that whole bro culture, prank guy type deal, and I hated him so much. Like, as much as y'all hated Charlie, is how much I hated fucking Trotter. And when it gets
Two sides
to
of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin.
yeah, but I like heads more than I like heads more than tails. But when it gets to his like plot on how he's gonna fucking kill Charlie, and like he's telling it to Cameron, and he does it in this big storyboard style with the arrows going from like point 1 to point 2, and like it has that across the page. Like, I was sitting there thinking the whole time, like, there's so many easier ways to kill him. Like, you're collecting $2 million. Why does it have to be big and elaborate? And the whole time Cameron's like, have you considered this? This is stupid. Did you hit the return home function on the fucking the drone cars? Like, if you didn't, this is gonna be a fucking felony. And like that's another thing. Like, you don't get in trouble. We were talking about Reaper and Defender, and if you kill somebody who has a hit on them, you're protected, because it started off as like a dark web type deal, and by the time it got out of hand, they couldn't really get a hand. There were so many people involved in it, they just couldn't really stop it. So they gave it a go. And the thing with the Defender app is they're allowed to defend you and use deadly force, but anytime that they kill somebody, they have to file out massive paperwork, and if they do it wrong, there's any clerical errors, they can get sent to jail. And so, like, Vita, being the person that she is, does all of her own paperwork. She doesn't drive an automated car. She tends to stay away from the technology that everybody else is using, which I thought,
school. Yeah, that's her whole thing, is old school.
And so when they're in the car, and she's like, you know how you wonder why I drive this thing, and then she starts pulling some straight fucking like juke moves in the car and J turns,
smashing all those electric cars, those little shitty electric cars. She's just smashing the shit out of them with her huge gas guzzler American-made vehicle.
And let's not gloss over the relationship between her and the cop, her ex, which is some of my favorite parts of the book. They don't go into it too deep, but you can tell from context that they kind of had a bad breakup, and Vita's still not over it. Vita is very much still in love with her ex.
They both are still in love with each other.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Well,
That's
the thing.
like Charlie, though, because she's messing with Vita's heart when Vita's still got good connections with actual, like, a cool chick. So yeah, that's another reason to not like Charlie.
Oh, well, when they're in the strip club and she's like, "Hey, my friend wants to bang you." Like
There's some really funny parts in it, man.
the problem
My
with that
favorite is when she's fighting Trotter and the dog comes running with her purse and she's like, "Dog, I love you. Bring Papa her gun." I'm like some really good lines up in this book.
I saw a lot, and I don't like. I know y'all have said very negative things about Charlie, but some of the stuff that she does, like I would see myself doing, like the "Hey, my friend wants to bang you. What's good?" Like I'm that obnoxious person at most places. Like I'm super obnoxious, which is probably why I resonated with Charlie so much because, like I said, she has no regard for her personal safety. She has this hit out on her, and she is going, oh, yeah, she is going to, the strip club, and she's going out to drinks and stuff. And that scene with the fucking bride. Oh my God. It was, oh, dude, it was so fucking good. I really didn't know how she was going to get out of that. That was the one time I was expecting Vita to like kick down the door and fuck the bride up. But by the time Vita kicks down the door, like Charlie and the bride are hugging it out and crying. And I thought that was really sweet. But at the same time, like she's doing all this dumb shit. Like you said, she gets the house burned down. The only reason I don't think she is entirely in on the hit that's on her head is because like, why would, because she does almost get herself fucking
famous.
killed. Yeah, well, would you risk getting yourself killed to get famous?
I think she's the type of person who would.
Type of person, yeah.
I think she's the type of person who would. She has no foresight. She doesn't think ahead. She thinks now. What do I want now? And she doesn't think of consequences. She doesn't think of like 10 steps ahead. What are the consequences of my actions now? She doesn't have that. She's about me now. I want it now. She has no delayed gratification. She has no. If she wants something, she wants it now. She doesn't want to wait. You know, she's got that like little spoiled brat kind of attitude to her.
But
if she wants it, she needs it, and she's not going to wait.
Spoiled little brats.
I didn't say it.
Yeah, no, I said it. I'm allowed to. You can't say it. I can say it.
Well, I can say it. People might not like it, but I can fucking say it.
One thing I really like about this book that we haven't touched on is the art style. I mean, yeah, there's a huge cast credit for the art, but I mean, it shows. You can see that a lot of people put a lot of work into this because this thing is just clean. All the lines look great. The coloring pops. I mean, every action sequence is. I hate to put it in like this metaphor, but it's very John Wicky. You know what I mean? It's got that really tight, really kind of neon action look to it, and oh my God, it's just gorgeous to look at. I really can't think of a flaw in this book. I love a lot of Sabella's work. This is definitely his most fun and most entertaining book to look at and read. I mean,
yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
But definitely to look at. The art is just glorious.
When you say that, if anybody's watched the show before, you've probably heard me say it, but they do such a good job with the flow of the art that the book really comes to life. Like Sabella is an incredible writer, but at the same time, I don't think this book would have been as incredible as it was if it wasn't for how, and cinematic is the word I want to use, but the pictures have so much motion in them. And when you have these action scenes and you have the fight scenes like when they're shooting at them, like in the burger joint, when she's trying to convince Vita to be her protector, and the scene where Vita ends up like shooting the dude that tries to come in on him, like all of it really was almost the art itself moving. And I thought that was, it's very hard to do, and not a lot of teams can pull it off, but they pulled it off so well because it's everything, the motion, it all felt real. It felt very, it flowed very well, and it was. And go ahead.
And he does a great job. One thing that, before I forget, is this book does a great job at showing how social media dehumanizes people, like how we don't see them as a person. On the other side of what you're writing about people are saying or doing, how we dehumanize people, and how we can be so cruel and not think about the consequences of what we're doing, how it affects them emotionally. Just like like it becomes fun for people to kill someone. Like there's an actual living human person that has friends, family at the other end of this. And this book definitely does a great job of showing how social media how we dehumanize one another and don't treat each other like we're a person anymore.
Apparently, Charlie doesn't have no friends or even fucking family because even her mom fucking disowns her. But no, that's very true. And I think when we started this topic, it was technology gone bad. But because of how prevalent social media is, a lot of the themes from some of the books that we're going to cover is the dangers of these social medias. Like we look to the book we just covered, Friendo. It had some of those same vibes. You look to this and the book we're going to cover later, Johnny's book, Number One with a Bullet, which was fucking phenomenal. But it touches a lot on that because when we talk about technology, it's not how it was in the 80s when we had maximum overdrive, like where, you know, cars were coming to life and the saw was coming to life. What we have now is basically AI, computers and algorithms in the way that, you know, I mean, they did that test Facebook did like in 2013 or 2014 where they were testing on people where they just showed them sad content for a month and then a group where they just showed them happy content for a month and then measured out the people's like emotional responses to that. And when we're constantly berated by negative stuff or when we're berated by so much stuff that it's hard to take it all in, it is very easy to forget that these are flesh and blood people. And so like it definitely played on that really well. You know, because the entire country's trying to, or I say the entire country, they get to that later as they leave Los Angeles, but the entire city is trying to kill Charlie. And I mean, whole teams of people, and people are even killing, like when their group is in the diner and they're talking about how they're going to team up and take them down. And they all have a contingency plan to kill each other to make the share smaller. And they just openly tell the people that they're sitting with, like, yeah, no, I'd definitely kill you to get more money out of this. Like, what the fuck? And the whole time people are trying to convince Vita to split it with them 50-50 and just kill her. And like, it's very, that is a good point to touch on, that the way that social media helps us dehumanize other people. We see people as less than because we don't see them in person. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to Number One with a Bullet, because I've got a lot to say about that book.
All right, cool. Anybody got any last words for Crowded?
Yeah, if you want a fun, action-packed read, this is definitely the book for you, man. It's fun. There's a lot of action. Beautiful book. Well written, well drawn. Like, I mean, what's not to love? Go pick this book up. It's definitely a fun read.
And the cool thing about it is it's kind of wordy too. Sabella always puts a lot of dialogue and a lot of just words in general in his writing. So I always enjoy his because you actually get like a good reading experience out of his books. No. And this is another one, and I think this is a $9.99 Image trade paperback. So like you really got no reason to not pick this baby up. It's just awesome.
My last thing on it, because I read it digitally and I was not paying attention. Was this because like you said, it did have a lot. I don't want to say wordy because it has negative connotations, but it did have a lot of writing in it. And so was this a normal 22-page comic as they were released in singles, or were they larger format? Because it seemed as I was reading through it, this book took me the longest to read out of all of them.
Well, it's a 6-issue trade.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But that was the thing, because like when we read those mangas, the mangas were about 180 something pages, and even those I was able to kind of breeze through. And I don't know if it was the word count in this, but it did, each issue as I was going through it digitally seemed longer than 22 pages. I'll have to go back and check that myself. I meant to bring that up earlier.
It's Sabella's writing. His books always take you a little longer to read, at least for me, and I always appreciate it from him because I mean he fills his books up, and you don't feel skimped if you ever read his work, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, not at all. Like I really enjoyed because there was so much that was explained. And okay, Jennifer said it seemed like standard sized issues, and so I guess it's just the body of his work is super good like that. I really enjoy it. It helps you get immersed into his stories. But yeah, super awesome book. I loved it.
All right, it's your pick, Goose. What you want to do?
Oh, I'm going to get into something we haven't got into on our show. And what is this episode like 15, 16? Or how far are we into this now?
18.
18. This is episode 18, and I can't believe we haven't done this until now. We're doing our first and second manga, and I'm fucking stoked for it. And Johnny even brought it up, like, no, manga and comics are the same thing. Like, why haven't y'all been bringing it up before? Because there's so many books I've been wanting to do. But the book we're doing now is Appleseed, and Appleseed is done by Masamune Shiro. And it is really, really great. I want to say that it used to be put out by Eclipse Comics, but now Dark Horse owns the rights to it, which they do with a lot of the mangas that they put out. It is a shonen style manga, and it takes place in the 22nd century after the Third World War, and it follows Dunan and Johnny, help me out with this, Briareos?
Briareos Hecatoncheirus.
Yeah, that name, because you asked me beforehand if I was cool with pronouncing names, and I was like, yeah, maybe. But yeah, Dunanute and Briareos, Hector, yeah, I'll just call him Briareos, so we'll do that. They are former SWAT members, and they are basically living out in a desolated city when the story starts up, and they are relying on one another and trying to survive. And Briareos he's in a mech suit, I guess would be the best way to
He's
put
a
that.
full body cyborg, is what it is.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess
his name Hecatoncheirus. That's the form of cyborg that he is. It's the most advanced cyborg body they ever came up with during the war, and like
okay.
he lost his body. He once was a dude, but
Okay. I may have missed that in reading it. Did they ever go into depth in that first volume, or is that something you find out later?
First volume, no, you got to keep reading, and then they covered a lot in a lot of the animes and stuff too. But yeah,
Okay,
Briareos was once a dude.
Okay, well, and so they're in a desolated city, and it comes across where some guys in a tank go to attack them. They find them, and from there, actually, right before then, they're being tracked down, and they believe they're being stalked, and they catch the person that's stalking them, only to find out that there's some scavengers in a tank that are coming. So a fight breaks out between them. The girl that they had locked up escapes, and then after the fight is over, she explains to them, "I'm not trying to hurt y'all. I've been tracking y'all down. I want you to come to Olympus." And Olympus is one of the few cities that is still operating, and it is basically, I don't want to call it paradise, but it is actually set on Mount Olympus, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, it's just named that because of Greek mythology. There's a lot of mythological based things in this, like the two buildings, the Tartarus and Daedalus. It's all heaven and hell, basically, from mythology.
And so they get to the city, and you find out that that everybody there works. They do their own thing, and if they don't want to be laborers, and they kind of get pulled into the extra special weapons and tactics force. And it's kind of a utopian city, as they learn more about the city, you come to find out that most of its inhabitants are bionically augmented, and it is it's very action packed as it starts up, and then it's got a lot of philosophy that it kind of goes through, and it's a manga. It's 186 pages was the length of it, and it's a very quick and fun read for how big that first volume was. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm gonna have to pull up the rest of my notes. But
one of the neat things that you kind of missed is the book itself is actually a really neat metaphor for how Japan views people that immigrate there. The book is basically about, you got cyborgs, you got bioroids, you got humans, and you got robots, and they're all treated differently depending on which lineage you have, and it kind of really breaks down the way Shiro dislikes kind of the racism of his country. is a neat way to another thing that is really really apparent in these books that kind of gets glossed over. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, when did they make Appleseed woke?" when they watch the new movies, and it's like, you're an idiot. But yeah, that's another really cool thing that Shiro did with this. He really really went for broke and told a really neat tale about racism in his own country in a very neat way, using the different types of cyberpunk peoples that run around in the Bill Gibson type writings.
Yeah, I did not think about it in those terms, but the way that they have the classes of people, depending on what they are, that makes total sense. Like I'm gonna have to read the rest of this series, and I want to say it's all on. I think all of the volumes are on. If you have Comixology, they're all on there for free. That is where I read this at. I say for free if you have Comixology Plus, and normally I haven't seen it in the bigger form. I haven't looked for it, but normally your mangas are actually
Digest
like
size.
yeah, they're smaller size, but reading it on my tablet, which is a little bit bigger, it's super great. That's got that classic manga style. And I will say this, a lot of the books, and this isn't negative because I'm not one of those people, a lot of the mangas, especially from that era, are really like over sexualized. And I don't have a problem with that. But I do like the way that they did it in this book where there's very little over sexualization. It focuses a lot more on the story. There's the scene in the shower, and I'm terrible with names, and I read this on Monday. But there's the scene in Hitomi, yeah.
Yeah, she's always horny. So yeah, she's basically the only kind of sexual character you have in the book. Is Hitomi will get drunk and horny.
Yes, and I love those scenes, especially like when they're going to talk to her and they're like, even the words themselves are said like a drunk person would say them, but she tries to hit on Dunan in the shower because even when she walks in, Dunan's like, "Whoa, hey, I'm in here." And then she tries to like latch onto her while she's drunk, and she's like, "I'm not like that. Like, stop." That was one of the things that really like stuck out to me because while I'm okay with over sexualization, like I'm not against it, and I'll talk more about that when we get into one of the other books one of the other mangas. They did all the stuff kind of tastefully, and like I said, it was a very very fun read for me. It has like we're talking about technology gone bad, and you've got this entire city that is filled with these not humans, and you don't find that out until later on in the first volume, but it's jarring when you realize that not everybody there is human. And I thought that they did that really really well. Joe, you got any thoughts on Appleseed?
I don't have much to say about Appleseed. I'm not overly familiar with Appleseed. I've seen like one of the animes and stuff, and so I dug it. It was decent. The action's pretty cool. Like the relationship between the two main characters. They have a great relationship, and yeah, I mean, if you like it's your typical anime manga type stuff, man. Like it's the art is great. The story, like Johnny says, it touches on some racial maybe undertones in it, the commentary, but it's an action-packed book, right? It's definitely centered around a lot of action. So, I mean, if you like that, if you saw the animes and you enjoyed it, you'll probably enjoy the manga as well.
I actually
That's a
have
good
not.
point. I'd always say that I don't know why they keep always trying to do Ghost in the Shell. This is written perfect for American action cinema. I think Appleseed would be where they would make their money if they actually adapted one of Shiro's books into a Hollywood film, because Dunan's already blonde. Briarios, you just get Ron Perlman to do the voice and put whoever you want in the monkey suit, and yeah.
Well, I was gonna bring that up. I haven't actually watched the anime. I need to, but Neil Blumenkamp, who of District 9 and Elysium, and what I'm going to be talking about is Chappie.
Crappy.
You didn't like it?
We'll save that for another time.
We'll save that for another time. But he drew a lot of influences from Appleseed for the character of Chappie. That's a kick-ass movie, Johnny. You don't like Hollow Man, whatever. But yeah, Briarios was an influence on the design of Chappie, and that
you don't say.
You don't say.
Don't say.
Well, I mean, when you look at stuff like that, you really get to see the legacy that this book has. Where we talked about Wednesday how the people that H.P. Lovecraft has inspired, and when we think about a lot of modern stuff like that.
Shiro Masamune's stuff is iconic at this point. It's been because one of the first animes I ever watched was the original OVA Appleseed, the hand-drawn one, before they started doing the computer ones. And yeah, like Briarios is iconic to me. So yeah, the first thing I saw when I saw Chappie was like, who gave Briarios meth? Who? Why is he so skinny?
The Antwoord gave him meth.
Obviously, yeah. That dude Ninja, he looks like a tweaker, so yeah, he definitely was hooking Briarios up.
But and that's the thing, like when you look at the influences that a lot of these mangas had on future films and stuff like that. I mean, when The Matrix was filming, we'll get into this book a little bit later, but when The Matrix was filming, the Wachowskis literally had to go back and like talk to the people who did the Ghost in the Shell anime. And we're like, hey, is it cool if we do this? Because they didn't want to get copyright infringement. And so when we see like the inspiration that gets drawn from a lot of these, I guess classic makes it sound old. I mean, it was done in 85, 86, and that's not old for anybody watching. Although 81 was like 40 years ago. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm well aware of that fact.
Oh shit! Yeah. Happy belated birthday! But no, that's the thing. This book was done 34, 35 years ago, and the influences that it's had on American media, well, I guess not even just American, but like worldwide influences is phenomenal. You've got all these books to draw inspiration from, and I think that Masamune's books are a lot of people have pulled a lot of ideas from his stuff, and I think he did this book very well. Most of the stuff I've read from him, he does super awesome, and it's a fun read. And that's how I feel about most manga that I enjoy. Is it's either absolutely awful or it's some of the most fun stuff that I've read. And I think he did really well. I mean, I know he's more known for Ghost in the Shell, but I out of the two, since we read both this week, I definitely resonated a little bit more with Appleseed than I did with Ghost in the Shell.
That's fair enough. I can't really pit them against each other. Like I said, one's a little more, I mean, we'll get to it when we talk about Ghost in the Shell, but yeah. I like them both a lot. I'm probably equal, but yeah, it's hard for me to call that one. But they're definitely solid, iconic cyberpunk books. And yeah, right after William Gibson and the first wave Philip K. Dick of writers of this style, Masamune and Otomo were like some of the first guys that really kind of put the stuff together that really, really inspired the new generations that are still going. And yeah, if you have any interest in that type of science fiction, definitely get on this manga. It's a lot of fun. It is so cool. I've read it since I was a kid, so.
And I know that I named my son after Jack Kirby's Orion character, but don't forget, homie's got Masamune has a Orion book from 90 to 91. That was also, I need to go back. It's been a while. I think I've got it on my shelf over here. But it's another great book of his. I think we could talk all day about Homie's work because he is super influential. Even now to this day, a lot of his stuff gets adapted, and a lot of, like I said, a lot of people pull inspiration from his work. I think that just goes to show not just how well of a creator he is, but how great his work is.
Right, right. Couldn't say it better myself.
Oh, well, you could.
You got any? Anybody got any last words for Appleseed by Cheryl Masamune?
Have I
Well,
been saying his name backwards this whole time?
I'm just reading it how it's on my books, man. It depends. Like I don't know how to say it, but like on my book that I'm looking at right now, it says Cheryl Masamune. But
See,
in Japan, you do say the last name first, so I don't know.
okay,
Maybe I'm.
that makes sense because when I wrote everything down on the way that they had it on Comixology was Masamune Shiro, and so I assumed that I knew that some like that they do the last name first in some of the stuff, but I've also seen it both ways, and so I wasn't quite sure. I didn't want to be saying his name wrong. But yeah, I mean, I guess it goes either way. So Shiro
Yep.
Masamune is the proper way, but yeah, Masamune is his last name.
Oh, good. And then zipping right along, next up we have a book that might not be for everybody, but I really enjoyed it. This is Monolith. It is story by Roberto Roccanini. It is original script by Roberto Roccanini and Mario Uzio, and it is designed and illustrated by LRNZ or Learns. And man, this book is what I was saying. This is one that there is technology involved, but it's the human error that makes it dangerous in this book. And this is about a family in turmoil and the perfect car, the car that's supposed to keep you utterly safe if you use it as advertised. Basically, we start this journey. There's a young couple with a child. And a very, very doting father who wants to protect and shield them from everything, and a mother that still longs for her rebellious youth. And basically, she decides she's tired of the father's overbearingness, and she's going to take off with the kid. So she takes off in her car. He follows her, and then talks her into taking the Monolith, which is this big, huge, suburban looking SUV car thing that's supposed to be the safest vehicle in the world. But only if you use it with all of its features turned on. But being the genius that she is and not wanting to be followed by her husband, she disables the tracking and the emergency systems for the car. And she decides she goes on her little road trip. She has a little fling with the guy at a gas station while
Oh,
her kid sits in the car by herself. And while she listens to Freebird and thinks that she's like some kind of rebel, and they're driving up in the hills and they hit a deer, and it totally stalls the car out. And because of what she did, there is no way to reestablish really the link to call emergency services. So she is stuck with her kid up on this country road, and she tries to use her phone. It's not really got a signal, and she drops it. So basically, she just kind of is stuck out in this wilderness. She gets chased by a wolf. She has like this surreal dream about the deer man who's the husband, and she's like this crazy wolf lady. There's this great European surrealism to it because this is an Italian graphic novel, so there's a lot of that to it. But she wakes up and it's daytime. So she decides that, like, oh, cool, I can see stuff in the daytime. And so she finds this little shed. She goes down, messing around, seeing if she could call help, and she gets bit by a snake. And then the hallucinations start. And this tragic tale goes from one that you almost have hope for to something that you're just like, oh my God, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Please don't. And it's hard to read, especially I found for my friends that have children, because it's not very kind to the young lad in the story. And man, this trek that you go on, and the idea that, like, yes, you can have the perfect car. It could have all these safety features, and it can save you from getting hit by a tank. Only if you use it right, though. And of course, us being people, we know better. We'll turn that shit right off because we don't want the NSA watching us. It reminds me of when the Xbox One was first coming out, and all the PlayStation people were telling me, "Well, it's just going to be an NSA spy box. The NSA are going to spy on you." And I'm like, "Well, what are they going to find out from me playing my Xbox? That I fucking play Saints Row? Like, what are they going to do? What case are they going to break with that knowledge? Like, I, so like this whole like weird conspiracy theory scared of the government knowing I don't I've never gotten it, but this book kind of plays with that ideology a little bit, and it really is just confusing to me how real this book was, because people be doing stuff like that, and it shook me, man. Like, how do you guys feel about this book? I know you guys both had a lot to say about it, and I'm going to open the floor to Joey.
Yeah,
actually, no. I'm gonna let Goose go first because I know he's got a lot of stuff he wants to get off his chest, and it's just gonna eat him up inside unless he vocalizes it.
So first, I want to touch on what Johnny said about the whole NSA thing. Like, after that Edward Snowden movie came out, which we're not gonna get into Edward Snowden. He's a national hero, not the point. A bunch of people that I knew, especially like super conservative people, were like covering up the lens on their laptops and stuff like that without, doing the shit on their phone. The one thing that they carry around all the fucking time that can hear your voice and, turn on your camera anytime they fucking want. But my whole thing with that is like, are you really so self-important that you think the government is watching what you do? Like, are you that self-absorbed that you think the government cares that you're jerking off to midget porn? Not the point. Let's get into this fuck fest of a book. The book made me very upset.
Yeah.
The book made me very upset. And look, that's not negative about this book. This book was fantastic. It was phenomenal. It is good. It's really good. It is a sucker punch right to my fucking stomach. Now, let me preface this. When we're talking about the parents and like the doting father and wanting to protect, like, Orion was outside playing today and fell down and skinned his knee on the concrete, and Dakota's like, "No, baby, it's okay." And I'm like, "There's blood. Is he okay?" Like, I'm freaking the fuck out because I really just want the best for my son. I don't want him to get hurt. I don't want bad things to happen to my kid. And this story fucking toyed with me so goddamn hard. I'm a big proponent of being faithful. Like, look, if you're in a polyamorous relationship, or you're out there and you're not in a dedicated relationship, do what you want, whatever. So, like, if you're with somebody, be with that fucking person. Dude, infidelity pisses me off so fucking hard. I've been cheated on. It fucking sucks. So as soon as she has that little fling with the biker, I already knew the bitch was a bitch. And like, I hate, that's not sexist. Like, she's just a fucking bitch. She has this fantastic husband who just wants the fucking best for her. And like, she's going through her rebellious streak. No, she's a fucking bitch. She wants to get away from him because he's smothering her and he's suffocating her. And like, what she means is she wants to go fuck bikers while she leaves her son in the car. And so, like, me as a father and as a loving partner who would never dream of doing that, and like, I don't ever have any worries that I would ever have any problems with infidelity between me and Dakota. Like, that's not at all. But like, I've been in that situation where I've been cheated on, and that was the first step of me fucking hating her. My second step of hating her was her complete disregard for her child. And I know, like, oh, she tries to fix things and shit like that. Like, maybe don't put your fucking kid in that situation. She was drinking behind the goddamn wheel of the car. And what bothers me the most is the kid is a cute little blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby. And like, that's my son to a fucking T. The whole time I'm reading this book and I'm seeing David, that was the kid's name, wasn't it? It was David? Or was the husband's name David?
Don't know. Don't remember.
It doesn't matter. Keep it going.
It doesn't matter. The whole time I'm seeing this kid, and I'm seeing this kid fucking suffering in this sweltering goddamn car in the middle of the desert. All I could picture was my son. And like, I know she does her best. Fucking bitch. She doesn't. Like, I get the deer gets stuck underneath the car. But at the same time, like, none of that shit would have happened if she wasn't being a bitch. And like I hate saying that, but like, and I'm not gonna ruin it for anybody unless y'all are cool with me ruining it for everybody.
No,
Okay.
because the
Anyway,
books aren't getting shipped out till Monday. So like, yeah,
yeah.
no, barely anybody's read this, so don't ruin it.
And I'm sad because I read it digitally and it's gonna come in and I'm gonna have to read the physical because I know it's gonna be oversized and gorgeous. And I'll talk about the things that I like. I hate the main character, and I hate her complete disregard for not just her husband but for herself. She's a harlot and a terrible mother, and not the point. The book itself is fantastic. The emotions that it elicited from me are not, while they sound very negative, it elicited very heavy emotions, and books that do that deserve a place in my heart. I said at the beginning of the episode, I'm a glutton for sadness. Not this fucking sad, but the way that they did this book was very good. It is we talked about Christopher Sabella's work being, and like I said, I don't want to use the negative connotation of wordy, but having a lot of words in the book. This book is less wordy and very visual. And there are some really excellent parts in this book after she gets bitten by the snake and she
The
goes into,
hallucination is so awesome. It
oh
switches into
yeah,
Mobius vision. I love it.
that's dude, you took the words out of my mouth. When it goes from the more real, I don't know if I'd call that realism, but when it goes into the surrealism and you got like the Mobius style out in the desert, it gave me super Salvador Dali vibes just because of like the when I think about Dali, I always think about the melting clocks in the desert. And like I got very big vibes from that. And I don't know if it's because of the desert setting or what, but the art in this book is, then that's why I know when the book comes in and it's in the larger format than my tablet was, I'm gonna reread it and it's gonna elicit more sad feelings for me. But I'm a glutton for sadness. I actually had to I messaged Johnny halfway through the week after I read this book, and I was like, "Oh God, what the fuck, dude!" Like, and I think all he said was, "Oh man, I'm sorry." Like, but it's such a good and beautiful book, and everything I've read from Magnetic Press has been absolutely incredible. You know, we've covered Wakamo, we haven't covered Aster of Pan, but I'd
We
like
have.
to.
You just weren't here.
Well, fuck me, dude. When did we cover Aster of Pan?
Uh,
A while
episode
back.
4 or 5 or something, man. I think it was just me and Joe, but
I was working out of town a lot then.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Well, fair. I've enjoyed everything that I've read from them, and I actually got the one that's going to have Gollum coming in with it, and I believe you did as well, Johnny.
Yeah.
Joe's waiting to pick it up at his store because Canada has to pay stupid fucking shipping prices, and I understand. Which, if you get yours before us, please brag about that.
I will. Don't worry. I will. I'll rub it in hard.
Is it coming out? Is it coming out this Wednesday for you?
I'd have to check. I don't know. Which
Okay.
one? Which title?
Monolith.
Monolith. Well, our books finally get shipped on Monday, is what.
It was
Magnetic
solicited
said.
a while back, so I'd have to go check. It was solicited quite a while ago in the Diamond.
I'm waiting to get the physical copy of this because it is an absolutely gorgeous book. Like I said, it is very much a visual book, which is why I'm looking forward to getting it in physical form. But the book
I'm
itself,
very much waiting to hear Joe's take on this book, man. Joe,
okay, yeah,
what'd you think, dog?
Yeah,
Well,
please go ahead.
I'll start with the story. So, like you recap the story. So, they foreshadow that because when the car ad finishes, it says she'll protect you, and she doesn't protect him at all. This is like 101 on how to be a horrible mother. This book is a handbook on how not to parent if you're a parent. She has a very they don't even go into detail, so you don't know if it's a toxic relationship with her husband, but she finds him controlling and overbearing. Her husband's name is Carl, and she feels suffocated and trapped. And this is what instigates her getting the fuck out of the house. And when she goes to leave, she wants to take her old car, but he wants her to take the new car, the Monolith, because it's a safer car. If she's going on a road trip to her sister's, he wants to make sure she's going to get there safe, so take the new car. That's why he bought it, was so that she could drive around with her son, which Goose was right, his name was David. So they get in the car and she takes off, and he's trying to be understanding, trying to like give her more space, but she's in this mindset where I think she should have just gotten the fuck out a long time ago and left that relationship, because it's not a healthy relationship between the two to begin with. But she very selfishly insists on bringing the kid, which Carl wasn't too keen on, but she's incredibly insistent on bringing that kid with her, her son. And she's not in an emotional mind state to really think or take care of someone else, because right now she's in her own little world where she needs to deal with shit, and she shouldn't be taking care of another person that requires that much attention and reliant on a person. So some of the first instances are the gas station where she stops, and where Goose loses his shit pretty good there with the infidelity, where she leaves her kids sitting in that goddamn car. Well, she goes and bangs a biker in the gas station restrooms, like right there. That is just horrendous parenting right there. I mean, I'm not saying she's a bad person per se, but she's a very selfish person by bringing her kid with her and acting like this. It's a very selfish. Like, I don't even care about the infidelity part here. Like, she could cheat on her husband all she wants. I'm not going to say much about that. It's the fact that she leaves that fucking kid in the car. Like,
that's how I felt too. Yeah, exactly.
So many different things could have happened in that scenario, but it doesn't. She gets back in the car, and then she starts driving. Like Goose pointed out, she's fucking drinking behind the wheel with her kid in the goddamn car with her. And then, yeah, and then they hit the deer, and this is where shit really goes wrong. And she gets out of the car trying to get the deer out, which is normal to keep going. But she, like Goose pointed out, or even Johnny, she turns off all the GPS systems, the emergency tracking, because she's afraid her husband's going to be trying to track her in this car. And in her mind, she's like, that's why he wanted me to take the Monolith, because he wanted to follow me and track me every little inch or every little mile I go. He wants to keep tabs on me. That's why she turns it off, because she's so paranoid that her husband's keeping track that she gets obsessive about it. And she doesn't think,
I don't want to cut you off, but I just wanted to say, like, she does that, but when they start in the Monolith, she cuts off the GPS stuff so Carl can't find her. And after they hit the deer, she even goes to try and turn the shit on, but then she realizes, oh, he'll see that I'm doing this, and he'll think this of me. And so she decides not to turn it on before she even gets out of the fucking car. Anyways, go ahead.
Which is very selfish, because, you know, she's had an accident. Her first thing should be, okay, we got to get back on the road, and we can't stay in the middle of the desert, right? They're in the middle of nowhere. Like, the priority should be getting to safety or getting back on the road, making sure the car is fine, you know? But she doesn't, because she's, like I said, she's in this mind space of, like, her controlling husband, and it's very selfish of her. And then, obviously, she gets out. I don't know. She's looking for a stick or something, and she uses because the car uses a little, like, cell phone remote, and you have to have the person and the remote to function, unlock the doors and everything. And she's using the freaking light from the remote to go walk in the middle of the desert to look for a stick, instead of turning these systems back on to signal. Anyway, and it just goes from there, and it just gets worse and worse. And she loses the remote, and this is where everything goes off the deep end, is when she loses the remote for the car, and her kid is locked in the car. And it just, And it's a series of events and mistakes that could have easily been avoided if she would have just been just basic good parenting. Like, and this is where I have the issue, and this is where I don't like this character, because it's so enraging that, you know, a person can be so selfish and self-involved that they would put their stupid, like, I'm not going to say it's stupid, but their drama above the well-being of their child. Like, it's mind-boggling. And this book does such a great job, and it pounds it hard, and you just watch it and you're like, like it drives Goose crazy just hearing me talk about it.
Well, the thing I loved best about it is when I got the book, I expected it to be a typical run-of-the-mill Ford Tough mama bear saving her baby from the evil robot car. That's literally what I thought it was going to be. And I don't know, about 50 pages in, I realized just how damn wrong I was. And I was reading one of the most terrifying horror comics I've ever read, because I never thought about, like, you know, just a somewhat selfish parent being one of the most terrifying monsters you could have in a modern horror thing.
Yeah.
But Learns and the other couple of fellas that helped him write this, my God, did they knock that out of the park, because by the end, after the wolf pulls the deer from the tires, and I nervously giggle at that part, just because, like, you're just like, no, why?
And that
yeah, in that moment,
that leads me to the last moment of just stupidness. She pushes the goddamn car off a cliff. That impact with that kid's neck, it's gonna snap his neck. Like, thinking it's gonna smash the car and it'll smash a window. Like, what are you thinking?
No,
like, what are you thinking?
I will say this: that part didn't piss me off so much as her personality, because this is after the snake bite. She is hallucinating, and she really is at that point, I believe, trying to do whatever she could to save her kid. She's tried breaking in, and like, don't get me wrong, I hate this fucking character. And the a lot of the problems that I had, and I don't have any problems with the book. The book is ridiculously entertaining, and it gripped me on a different level. And, like, especially having a kid, if I did something as stupid as she did, which I do stupid shit all the time, I don't think I'd ever do anything that fucking stupid. Like, if I don't know, I wouldn't have, not the point. I do believe she had good intentions on what she was doing. She just wasn't in her right state of mind. And I understand that. And I get the dangers that she put her child in. My thing with it is like how easily that wolf pulled that deer out.
But she was helping it. She was pushing it from underneath the car.
Then why didn't she do that in the fucking first place? If she couldn't pull it, push it.
No, but there was two people, the wolf and her. It was like a team up.
Yeah. But and I, like Johnny said, like, she is the terrifying monster. When I backed this Kickstarter, it led me to believe it was going to be a woman who makes a mistake and is desperately trying to save her kid. And it turns out the mistake was fucking her. Because it shows, and I know you said, like, talking about how she felt, well, we both talked about how she felt suffocated by her husband, but in one of the flashbacks, it shows her, because he tells her, you gave me a reason not to trust you, which leads me to believe that there was an act of infidelity beforehand. And even if it wasn't, it kind of gives a flashback of her after she has the kid.
While she's pregnant.
Yeah, smoking while she's pregnant, going out and partying after she has the kid, and kind of leaving them like that. And, like, she's a very selfish, uncaring mother. And especially me having a kid, like I said, it elicited a lot of different emotions for me, because I feel, while, you know, I've even said in this episode where I am spastic and obnoxious, my kid comes first with everything. And there's the scene where she's in the car trying to get away from Carl, and she almost kills her kid with the fucking 18-wheeler. And, like, I'm sorry, like, I love Dakota to death. And if she told me she needed to get away, fine. And if she almost got into a wreck with a fucking 18-wheeler with my kid in the car, I would probably throw her off a cliff. Like,
But even the fact she took her kid wasn't out of love and caring. It was more out of spite towards her husband to not
yes,
like. It was more out of spite she took the kid to piss him off. It wasn't because like she was ultimately like, you know, like she didn't
yeah.
like they even go to the point where they're showing like when she's pregnant, she's like, I didn't even want this. I didn't want to be pregnant. And she's smoking the cigarette and telling Carl to go basically screw himself, you know?
Well,
So I don't know.
Yeah, I
It's
never
a very
asked you
selfish
to.
scene.
Isn't
Yeah.
that what she always told him? I never asked you to.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she takes the
But
kid with her out of spite. She should have just gone to her sister's by herself, left the kid at home where he's comfortable, a familiar space where he can still go to his school, his daycare, his routine, and she should have just gone to her sister's to take time to think and
well,
get in the right
and,
mindset. But she
but
doesn't.
I mean, if she had did that, we wouldn't have got this singular vision of horror that I've never
yeah,
seen before. I mean, like we got. I mean, he made something truly original with
Yeah,
this. You know
it's
what I mean? I
uh,
didn't.
look, it's generating a lot of conversation right now. So it's when
I
a
was
book does that, it's
terrified.
because it's done extremely well.
Yes, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of negative things to say about the woman and how she is a shitty parent. And that is because, like I said, I never asked for this. Like, me and Dakota didn't plan things out the way that they turned out, which I'm thankful that they did. Like, we're super in love and we have been. And like, me and her both love Orion with all of our heart. And like, he's the best thing that ever happened to me. And like, I don't know. Like I have these, like you said, the Mama Bear F-150 thing. Like I am super protective of my kid. Like I try not to do anything that would put him in harm's way. And it felt like at every turn, although she was trying to get into the car, like at every turn, she was doing things that put David in danger. And like it broke my fucking heart. And not a lot of books can do that. And that's why this book is as good as it is.
And this book does a great job of immersing you into it. And the writer at the end, I love the way he describes it. He's like, he tried to put as few words and let the artist tell the story as much as possible. And I think that really helps you immerse you into it because it's more of a visual story for the most part. Like this book, you can get through it pretty quick. It's a very visually told story. And that aspect of it is done excellent. It's so well done. The painterly style is beautiful. You get some beautiful pages. And then like the dream sequences or the trippiness goes back to a more of a traditional cartoon line and flat colors. And that is done incredibly well and super beautiful. Like you said, it has Mobius vibes. I mean, it's just a wonderful book. It's a wonderful book and everyone should read it. Just, if a book can piss you off that much, I mean, he definitely went and got the emotion and just forces it out of you. He just grabs you and pulls that emotion out of you, whether you want to or not. He just elicits it from you. It's so well done.
In so many styles though too. It's got that very hyper realistic, even though like the computer car is a bit far off from nowadays. I could see like this story kind of happening right now. But at the same time, he's got that really hyper surrealism with the weird dreams, and then you get into the hallucination bit of it, and there's a lot of really neat unconventional things that he does with this book that really help set it apart even further than just being like a singular horror story that took me by surprise because I really did. I just expected it to be like the car was evil. I didn't know that like the car actually was trying to help as much as possible. It warned her every step of the way. Every time she did anything, but you could just totally, hook this back up and have connections to every satellite in the universe. But nope, you go ahead and do you, girl.
It
And
scared the shit out of me. Terrified
I
me.
like that the robot was actually the good guy in a way in this book. I mean, it didn't help, but it couldn't because it had to rely on her to be able to do what it does, and it couldn't
Nobody
because
Yeah.
nobody can rely on her. Sorry.
Like, and
yeah,
her trippy part. Remember when I was saying the lizard man? I so thought that was the biker guy catching back up, and she was just tripping, and saw him as a lizard man when she fucking
that would be so neat too if you find out that
But
she
they
actually
never.
murdered him.
Yeah, they don't. A biker while she was in her poisonous hallucinogenic state. Yeah. I thought it was the biker for sure that she banged at the gas station.
It's all good, Jen. You're going to be able to get this on Amazon. It's going to be widely available. Magnetics basically runs their Kickstarters as pre-orders, and they basically use it to get funding for the print run, basically, is all it
And
is. So if you didn't get the Kickstarter, you can totally still get the book. It'll be really easy once it's
and
out next week or in a week or two.
right now, if you are wanting to get the book and you didn't back the Kickstarter, Magnetic Press is doing a huge sale, and I believe Monolith, although it hasn't been released, is a part of that sale. I think you get either 25 or 33% off of their books right now. They're doing a massive blowout sale. This book terrified the fuck out of me. It's a great book. I think it needs to be read. It tugged at my heartstrings really deeply. It was one of the scariest things I've ever read because the entire time I kept on envisioning Orion as David, and it's a must read. It is. I can't express enough how much this book affected me. It fucked with my head a lot, and not a lot of books can do that. And so, while I have bad things to say about the main character, I think this book is a must read. Unless you have children, because you'll end up like me and you'll be seething and foaming at the mouth like a rabid fucking dog at the way that she acts. But it's great. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
At least she's drawn really cute. I mean, you got that going for her.
But if you ever see a Magnetic Press book where you're on the fence and you're like, oh, it looks interesting, but I'm not sure, pick it up. Because Magnetic Press just knocks it out of the park. If you're slightly even think it looks cool or interesting, pick it up. Because Magnetic Press, man, they put out solid books. Like every book I've read or bought from them has been top notch. Like you won't regret it. So
yeah, they only import the good stuff.
It's got big ska vibes. You know what I'm saying? Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
Boo!
I told you, leave the shitty shit to me.
But all right, zipping on to the next one. Joe, it's on you. What you want to do?
Well, my other pick was Tokyo. No, my other pick was Ghost in a Shell. Sorry.
It kind of is Tokyo Ghost. It was the first one.
Yeah, Ghost in a Shell. I knew it had Ghost in it, man. What the fuck? Give me a break, guys. Come on.
Plus, it takes place in Tokyo, so I mean, you're not wrong.
So
Tokyo Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in a Shell by Shiru Masamune. So my introduction to Ghost in a Shell was the anime that came out in the 90s, and I'd never read the manga, so I was interested in reading it. So once we hit the technology theme, I was like, oh, we'll give it a go. So everyone pretty much is familiar with the story behind Ghost in the Shell. It's a futuristic cyberpunk story of a group of elite agents, I guess you could say, that have to track down a rogue, sentient artificial intelligence that's infiltrating the minds of cyborgs, which are also sentient, and attacking their ghosts, which would be considered their spirit. And it centers around I can't remember the main character's name. What's the main character's name?
Motoko Kusanagi, or the Major.
Yes. Yeah, it centers around the Major, and she has to, and her fellow soldiers have to try to track this I don't know, this rogue AI that's not playing by the rules, or however affecting all these other sentient beings that exist within this world. So the contrast between this and the anime, there's a huge difference in tone between this book and the anime. The anime is very serious, hardline action, cyberpunk like vibes, and the book has a much lighter, even goofy at times, and more fun vibe to it. Like the ideas in this story remain similar. They're very similar, but the tone is completely different. Like the manga is much more fun and playful than the movie. The movie is a very serious, straightforward kind of badass. The Major's a badass. She doesn't have quite the same personality, colorful personality, as she does in the manga. The manga, she has way more personality. she's more playful, she's more expressive, and that was the big part that really threw me off when I was reading it, that I wasn't expecting at all. But it's still very good. Like, the action's good, the art is great. Yeah, so it was definitely fun to read that, to compare the two. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Goose.
Well, so I've seen the it was a movie, not like an anime series, right? Like, it was the
It was a movie,
that,
yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I was hoping I didn't miss out, but like, the movie itself, I remember seeing as when I was younger and like thinking like, oh man, this looks incredible. And this
It
was
still
actually
does today. It holds up.
Oh,
Yeah.
it does. It does. And that's what I was saying earlier, as we talk about Shirow Masamune's work. Like, it's so influential in the fact that if you are a fan of The Matrix, the Wachowskis took so much from this book to integrate into what is one of the more, the first movie being the more popular of the franchise. But it was definitely a different tone than the movie. And I'd mentioned earlier, when we were talking about Appleseed, how of the over sexualization, and it has some scenes in it, and I even asked Dakota. I was like, "Hey, look at this. Why are they rubbing their titties together? What do they get out of that?" And like, even she was like, "Oh, okay, weird." Now, I do have a question for y'all. I read it digitally, and reading it digitally, did y'all read it all in black and white, or is it normally the first couple of pages in color?
That's a manga thing. Like, a lot of magazines do that, especially with the really popular strips that run in it. The first couple pages will be in color, then it switches to black and white. And then some companies won't do that when they import it, but for something like this, yeah, they'll definitely do the first couple pages in
Okay,
color, and
well,
then
it threw me off because I had seen the book in black and white when I've seen like frames of the comic like online. And so when I first dived into it and it started off in color, I really thought I was going to get a full color edition of it. And then after like 6 pages, it goes straight to black and white. And it did that after each, I don't know, would we call them issues or chapters? Yeah, chapters would be a better word. And I thought that the way that they did that, I would really like to see this thing in full color, because when you get the well,
I don't know. I almost prefer the black and white, dude.
And look, I really do, but and the way it worked with Appleseed, because when I read Appleseed, it was all in black and white, like it fit the tone of it. However, with this, the scenes that were in color, and I don't know if it was just because my tablet like had them enhanced or whatever, but it was super gorgeous, and so like I fell in love with it. As much as I like the anime, I think I was able to connect a lot more with the characters in the manga, and it's just the action, the way that it goes about the scene when she's on leave and then she comes out of like this VR world, and I was just like, oh shit, I thought they were actually on a boat out in the middle of nowhere. And then she's like, I gotta get to work. And they're like, well, you always gotta get to work. And she's like, well, yeah, I'm a busy motherfucker. So no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was another one of those, like with the volume 1 of Appleseed, it was 180, 190 pages, and I was able to get through it relatively quickly. But that doesn't take away from the story. It's a fast read because it's very action oriented. And I really like the way that they did this book, man. Like I said, it's Shirow Masamune is very influential, and this book has been, I don't even want to say influenced a bunch of stuff. It's almost like it's been parodied, because I don't think anything compares to the original. Like, everything else is just a knockoff, because the way that this book is done, and everything that has come out of it, I don't think anything perfectly captures the essence of this manga. It's fantastic. Like I absolutely loved it. Now I did have to share
I
the.
I
Okay,
like you guys started with the movie, and it is still my favorite anime movie. But one of the things I love best about this story and the continued universe is the side characters. I love the rest of the team. I like Saito, I like
Mhm.
Pazu and Borma and stuff like that. And you never get to see any of them. You barely get to see Togusa in the movie. So I really like to get to know those characters in the manga. And then when they did the expanded animes like Standalone Complex, I was really thrilled to see those characters finally get to shine in full motion. But yeah, dude, like basically the way I break this down is think of your best like SWAT procedural show mixed with like a Tom Clancy Ghost Recon type thing, and
Mhm.
that and put sexy cyborgs in it, and that's kind of what you get. Especially the manga form, because like Joey said, it's funny. It's a little more heartfelt in the movie, so you kind of
Mhm.
get those TV cop show vibes, you know.
Yeah, you get
So
a
yeah.
lot more personality in the manga than the movie.
Well, and I really think because I just recently and me and Johnny got to talk about it. I say recently, it was a couple of months ago. I got to read Akira for the first time, and what Johnny like one thing that I've noticed, especially when they do the movie adaptations, is that you get one one plot basically, but you don't get the whole story. And so when you get to read the manga, you get the whole feeling of it, and it almost makes you not hate, but this not despise, but it makes you feel bad because there's so much good stuff that they could have put into the movie that you don't get. And so I feel like I got a much better feeling of the Ghost in the Shell universe from the manga than you would get from watching the movie.
And I mean, this is remedial stuff in my opinion. If you got any interest in getting into manga, perfect place to start. I mean, this is where people for generations have started, and I don't see why not. It's funny because the version I got, it was released by Dark Horse, like just right after the movie got popular, and mine's actually reads from left to right. They've actually transposed the entire book so it reads like an American comic, which I find utterly hysterical. Like I do really like the Kodishan one that they've put out, the newer one, because the blacks and the black and white art just, oh man, it's such a better looking print than the Dark Horse one. But I just love the novelty of a manga being printed like an American comic. That like I just like the original version I have so much better.
It's funny that you say that because when I was reading it on Comixology, it fucked with me because normally I'm swiping, across to read like a normal book, but it actually sets it up in the manga format to where you have to swipe the other way. And I would find myself getting immersed in a page and then swiping the wrong way and just fuck and having to start over, go back 2 pages to make sure I got it right.
That's why the story didn't make sense to me. I read it the wrong way. I started at the end.
Fucking Joe. Goddamn tomatoes.
That's what I love about it. Like even if you get like volume 34 of Berserk, it always starts if you open it from the back end, like the back page always says stop, you're an idiot. Read from the other end.
Yeah,
That's
it's
my
funny
favorite thing about every manga I've ever owned.
funny
They
that
all
you
have
say
that
that.
page.
I'm propping up my tablet. It's my makeshift stand with volumes 4 and 5 of the deluxe edition of Berserk. And so yeah, if you open those up, still even the Dark Horse leather bound like deluxe editions, it's like stop. You're reading this the wrong fucking way.
Yeah. So I mean, it's fun. I found it fun to go see the differences from the manga to the anime because it's just like here, like you know, adapting a comic to a movie here in North America. It's the same idea. Like, what did they keep? What did they leave out? Did they change it? Did they? So it's just fun to do, and I
And it
would
was
suggest anyone go do it because it's definitely interesting.
because I remember when you said you were going to do it, and you said you'd only seen the film. I almost wanted to tell you like, well, expect it to be a lot different,
Mhm.
but I decided not to because I really wanted to hear how you felt about
Mm.
the difference in tones, and I'm glad that
Yeah,
you really appreciate both because they
yeah.
both really are good representations of
Mm.
the same story.
Oh yeah, she as a character, she's way more developed and more personality, more like in the manga. Like she's pretty flat and straight arrowed in the anime. Like she doesn't have much personality.
Oh,
But
that's
in the
just the
manga,
voice actor they got for her, man. God, I hate that,
yeah,
especially in the American dub. Oh man, I hate the lady
uh,
they got to do. That's one of the few that like I watch fully dubbed.
yeah. But
Still to this
yeah,
Well,
day.
it's the contrast between the two is just interesting to see, and I enjoyed that.
I think about it in like the way that I think this was like 2 years ago, maybe, when we were talking, and I told you I was watching Neon Evangelion for the first time, and you were like, "Oh, dude, I envy you because you get to watch it for the first time and enjoy it as much as I did when I first saw it." That is kind of how I felt about reading the book as opposed to watching the movie, because it was almost like getting immersed into that universe for the first time again, because there's so much more depth to the manga than there was to the movie. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But hell yeah, you can't go wrong with Ghost in the Shell. I mean, it's iconic for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And next up, man, Goose.
Oh, let's talk about Tokyo Ghost in the Shell. No, we're going to be talking about Tokyo Ghost, one of my absolute favorites. This is written by Rick Remender. This is with the art by Sean Murphy, colors by Matt Hollingsworth, which, God, Sean Gordon Murphy and Matt Hollingsworth as a team is so perfect. Letters by Russ Wooten. It's edited by Sebastian Gurnier. Gurner? How are we doing that?
What is this, a TKO book?
No.
I
But
know. I was just joking with that lineup. It's
yeah,
isn't.
Sebastian Gurner, when TKO opened up, he became their editor, but he used to do a lot of editing at Image, which is where this book came from. He helped with the story, and he did the editing on Shirtless Bear Fighter as well, and I'll always give him fucking props for that because it's one of my favorites. But the series is set in 2089, and this kind of harkens with some of the other books that we covered, like Friendo and one that we will cover, as well as Crowded. It kind of falls in with the allure of, I wouldn't say social media, but media itself. It is set in a world where people are addicted to technology and entertainment. So much so that people can get fully immersed and leave their real life, because the real world is so shitty that they just go into this world of technology. It follows Debbie Decay and Led Dent, our couple of the book. Debbie Decay is not for technology at all. She has sworn off technology because her father, who was one of the last true detectives, taught her to enjoy the real world, while her mother wasted away, sucked into like this VR technology type of lifestyle. And she has her boy toy thing, Led Dent, who is Teddy Daniels, I think is his actual name, and they've been in love since they were kids. She has kind of pulled him out of technology because his parents were both immersed into the same thing that her mother was, and one day he gets his ass kicked by these it's just a prank bro type people, and she saves him, and he develops a complex and becomes I can't remember the term for it, but basically this like super cop, almost like a RoboCop. And he kind of gets sucked into that, and the story starts up with him and her trying to hunt down God, I'm trying to remember the guy's name. I'm terrible with names. I'm so sorry. But they're trying to hunt down this bad guy who uses a Atari and a Super Nintendo and like another controller to basically control all the tech that is now fully taken over the Los Angeles area. We're set in a world that is dystopian, And the plot of it is they are doing one last job to get out. She wants to get away from all the technology and take Lead Dent with her so she can get Teddy back. And then they don't get the opportunity to do that because they're sent on their last to last mission of going to Tokyo, where the whole island of Japan has been shrouded in an EMP. And they have all the stuff that the people of Los Angeles, I guess it's a country at this point in time, needs to survive. Crops, vegetation, water, all the stuff that they actually need. And they're sent there to basically take out the EMP and bring back all the resources. And what the people who send her there don't know is that Debbie wanted to go there to get away and get Teddy away from the technology that he is literally addicted to, almost like a heroin addiction, where he gets dope sick. I think that's the perfect term to describe the way that he gets when he is away from his technology. He is fully immersed in this world where he is filled with these nanobots, and emotions and anything that people don't want to feel can be taken away. They have a drug called self-esteem. You can get a love drug to make people fall in love with you and all these things. And so all of the things that make people human and the sadness and the things that would normally affect a person can be easily driven away with the use of technology. And so once they get to Tokyo to take out this EMP, they were going there to escape. Teddy starts to get better, and they find that it's a paradise there. And these people have taken on a Neo Bushido is the way that they describe it, where kind of the way of the samurai, but in a new world. It is kind of a socialist utopia where they're all taking care of each other. You eat what you can grow. You take care and do whatever is necessary to protect the clan. And there's people that come back from the past that kind of ruin it. And it is beautiful. It is written beautifully. It has, I like to call it the Frank Miller Dark Knight style, where you get these in the Dark Knight, if you've read it, you have the news clips where it shows the different TV characters, and then it has the wording out to the side. And that is kind of how they move the exposition along. And they do that throughout the story, and it's done very well. But the ghosts of the past come back to haunt Debbie and Lead Dent. And it is beautifully done. It is a great book. We're just covering volume 1, and that's awesome because I can read volume 1 and volume 2 back to back. It's only 10 issues. It is one of the, if you like Sean Gordon Murphy's style, this is incredible. This is post this is post punk rock Jesus, but this is before White Knight. And Sean Gordon Murphy's style is unmistakable. You know it's him doing the art on it, and it's a Rick Remender book. And I think we've covered a few Remender books before, and he is absolutely fantastic. And them as a team with Matt Hollingsworth and Russ Wooten doing the lettering, this is one of my absolute favorite series, and it's one I think everybody should read. It's hard to get now because the book is out of print, but you can get it right now, volumes 1 and 2, on Comixology for less than $6. I think
Is
volume
that out
1
of print? Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, you can go on eBay right now and it's like $50 to get volume 1 of a trade paperback.
Shit,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no.
How are the issues doing for that? Can I flip my variants for it? Because I actually do have some of the variants for this bitch.
Actually, probably. I don't know if it's taken off in the style of like, something that's killing the children. But because
something is ghosting the Tokyos.
Yeah, well, I don't think the book gained I think as popular as it is now, I don't think it had the popularity that it did when it first came out. And so after they put out the trades and it went out of print, then the story itself picked up, and they haven't done new copies of it.
They
So
did a hardcover for it though, so it had to do all
Yeah.
right.
oh, dude,
Yeah,
you
there's
can't
hardcover.
get the hardcover for less than 120. I have fucking tried. If y'all
I
find it,
wouldn't. I have the two trades. I don't know why I need it, but Joey, man, what? How do you feel about the book, dude? Like, do you have any deep
Yeah,
cut?
man. It's got padingers in it, man.
it does. It has a lot of padingers in it,
It has a
and
few
I knew
padingers
Joey
in
would
it.
love that.
Yeah, so it's got my seal of approval right there. Anytime someone draws a penis, it's got to get my seal of approval. But no, it's a fun dystopian future where, like Goose says, humanity is lost again, where people just want to be entertained, and how they get entertained is just torturing, killing each other, and it's all rooted in a twisted mind of Davy trauma, where people can get upgrades, like cybernetic upgrades, and this guy can hack into them and control people from these like cybernetic upgrades. And what he does is just cause mayhem and chaos, and he likes to play games. Like he treats everything like a game. Like these aren't people. This is just a game for them. And he just treats it like that. Like it's a video game. Kill people, doesn't matter. I can just go hack someone else's brain, take control of their body, and keep playing. So yeah, it was fun.
Hardcover 150 on Amazon.
But where
Yeah,
the
I
story
ain't buying
really gets good is when they leave for
Tokyo.
once they actually get in Tokyo, and they meet up with the other community that they're there to destroy the EMP, so they can go and exploit the resources. And so she gets her Teddy back, man. Teddy Dennis. He manages to kick the upgrades and everything. And some of the parts that I found funny is when he's puking, they put nuts and bolts in it when he's puking and stuff, which is kind of, I thought was silly and a little funny. But yeah,
which is why I referred it to being dope sick, because once he gets off of the technology, like he really is like puking and sick and can't fucking control himself.
like right
But
there.
then he becomes a samurai. I mean, he gets pretty badass towards
There's
the
some
end of
pretty
this
funny
arc.
scenes, yeah. Like she points at his dick and makes fun about how small it is. Then
Well,
he's
no,
like,
she's like, it's shriveling up. It's
yeah.
so cold.
He's like, I'm a grower.
It's gonna go back inside like a tortoise shell.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's frightened. Yeah. He's like, yeah. That's pretty funny. Yeah, they got some
I
few
was just gonna
things
talk
there.
about dicks.
Yeah, so I had to show it. There's little padingers. There's all kinds of different padingers.
The action set pieces in this book are sick, though, man. Like
Yeah.
Goose said, Sean Gordon Murphy drew the hell out of this book. It is very, very gorgeous to look at. I really, really like flipping through the book and looking at it from time to time.
Well, did y'all?
It's very gruesome.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
It's very gruesome. Some of the scenes, like it's I'd say it's an R-rated book. There's a lot of nudity. There's a lot of graphic violence. This isn't for young kids at all. Like this, it's definitely a hard.
What it reminds me of is if Troma made Appleseed into a movie. Basically, what you would get.
Fair enough.
Toxic Appleseed.
Well, did y'all take? No, sorry. Keep going, Joey. I'll bring this up in a minute.
And it just ends on like such a like, oh fuck no. Like when you get to the end, you're like, holy shit. Like now I've got to go pick up volume 2 now, because I got to see what the fuck is going to happen now. Like it doesn't end where I thought it would end. So I don't know.
Well, did y'all take the time to read what was on Teddy's screen? Joe, did you?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I love the most is there's a scene closer towards the beginning where he's looking at all these different stuff and it's got all these ads and like the porn and all that stuff, but it's got one that looks like a text conversation and it's like, oh, Remender's fucking terrible, I hate his work, and then it has underneath it is like, Sean Gordon Murphy fell off after punk rock Jesus, at least Matt Hollingsworth is around to fix his art, and like the little inside jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
it's definitely worth reading those little screens when he's looking. Yeah,
the little details of this book is what makes it so incredible to me, because one, I love Sean Gordon Murphy's art style, and you get to the scene in like I think it's the first or the second issue before they go to Tokyo where they have the death races, and the death races I love because I love the way Sean Gordon Murphy does cars, and like I could look at his art all day long. I backed his book, The Plot Holes. I'm ready for it to come in. This is beautiful. It is gory. It does have a lot of violence, but it's so beautiful to look at. And if you like the art style from like White Knight or Curse of the White Knight or any of the stuff that they've done, that Harley Quinn series was pretty fucking dope. I'm telling you, you're going to want to read this book and get it on Comixology. Like I said, you can get it for $3.79 for the first volume, and I think $3 flat for the second volume, which is going to be the cheapest you're going to be able to find it because it's, for some reason, stupid fucking expensive to get the trades. It's not just the story itself being beautiful, and like Joe said, it did not end volume 1 where you wanted it to, and the whole time, Debbie Decay is just trying to get her love back. And it's sad. It's so sad because like even in the, I think it's the first issue where like she throws herself at him, and don't get me, Debbie Decay is so sexy. Like I know Johnny was talking about Vita being hot earlier, and like I don't know what it is about Sean Gordon Murphy's art style, but Debbie Decay and like the way that Harley Quinn was drawn in the White Knight series, like they remind me of each other, and they're so hot, especially when she climbs up on top of Teddy and like the thong, and like, oh god, she is absolutely fucking like I don't feel weird saying that comic book characters are sexy, but like Debbie Decay is up there on my list, like pretty close to Jessica Rabbit. And all she wants is for the man that she fell in love with and wanted to protect, who in turn turned into something that he never thought he would, to try and protect her. She just wants him back, and she gets him back, but not for long, and it breaks my heart. But Johnny, you haven't said too much. What do you think about this book?
I agree with Jen. I like the flashback when they were kids. I thought that was really sweet. Debbie Decay is a good name for nail polish. Tara, what riff did I make? Like, the trauma thing. Yeah, no, it's a pretty good book. I mean, all things considered, like, yeah, no, it's rad. I really like Dude's motorcycle. I think it's pretty bitchy.
Oh, dude,
with the tank treads, that's pretty gangster.
Now, Johnny, I don't know how deep into video games you are. This book had a lot of video game references, but did either one of you play the game Kinetica on PS2?
No.
Okay, it was like a F-Zero type racing game that you play as a they're motorcycles basically, but they're also fighting mechs. And it had that same fucking style. I'll send y'all some pictures after the show and show you what I'm talking about. But it had that. I loved that game as a kid, and it had that same style as the bike, and I fucking loved it.
Yeah, he does great vehicles for sure.
Right on. Yeah. But
yeah, get up.
Tokyo Ghost. It's one of Rick Remender's Image books. You can't go wrong with that. But anybody got any last words they want to say about Tokyo Ghost before we get to our last book?
Pick it up for the Padingers. Stay for the G-string.
Yeah. Buy it digitally. unless you're just balling, unless you got that goo-wop, them dollar bills, because you are going to be seriously out of luck, like me trying to find it in a physical copy. The deluxe hardcover on Amazon is 150, and the cheapest I've found it is 135 on eBay, and that's in relatively good condition. And so
if I sold my copy for $20 Canadian, I should be able to get rid of it pretty easy.
You can sell it to me for $20 Canadian. That's like $5 Monopoly dollars. So yeah, I'll buy it.
You don't have it? I thought you had it.
No, I have it digitally because I can't get it.
And listen to him acting like he's a real fan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man. If you want it for 20 Canadian, I'll sell it to you for 20 Canadian, man.
Yeah, that's like $7 American. And it's whatever.
Pretty close. Pretty close.
The shipping's what's gonna fuck me.
It should be maybe $15 Canadian, 15 to $20 Canadian. So it'll be like probably $40 Canadian total.
Oh, so like $10. Okay, I can do that.
But okay.
All right.
Moving along. Next up, we have Number One with a Bullet, written by Jacob Saman, with art and colors, or art and created by Jorge Corona. Colors by the amazing Jen Hickman. She's always good. I'm a little disappointed she just did colors in this, but whatever. Jorge did a great job drawing it, so whatever. Steve Wands is the letter designer, and Aaron Levy is the editor. And I'm going to read the synopsis off the back. Her social media, strong. Her variety show segments, a hit. Nash Huang is at the top of her game, but when the iris shutter contact lens hits the market, Nash's personal life is invaded. The latest leap forward in technological progress, these contacts not only play video or augment reality, they record footage. Fighting to keep her life together after a sex tape goes viral, a clingy superfan is the last thing on Nash's mind, but then the bodies start to pile up and the terror begins. And this book is really cool because it is utterly terrifying. Like, it makes me really scared to be for anybody that's a famous woman out there, just because I know how true this type of stuff can be. Plus, it has a really kind of fun, but it's nuanced. It's not the technological side of this. It's not overbearing. The contact lenses play a very small part, and so does the social media, but it's an ever-present one, and it's played very perfectly. But the main focus of this is how terrifying it is to have a stalker, to have a person that thinks they know you when they don't. And like it says, Nash, she's awesome. She's this little smartass. She's adorable. Everybody loves her basically because she's cute and she doesn't give a shit and she says what she thinks. And she works for this TV show, kind of like a Seth Meyers type thing, where it's kind of snarky political stuff, and her boss seems really, really cool until a sex tape of her comes out from Christmas, and they basically throw her to the wolves so that the company doesn't get in trouble. Meanwhile, she is getting these threatening emails that she doesn't really pay attention to because her career is going down the drain, but this person's trying to commiserate with her in their own creepy kind of weird way until she snaps on them, and it just kind of comes loose from there, and her personal relationship falls apart. Actually, that kind of happens right away. It's one of the things that really made me mad. Like, her girlfriend is kind of a neat character in this, but I hated how quickly she left, even though Nash said that the affair was before their relationship. Like, I don't understand people that get mad at people who did shit before they knew them. Like, but whatever. And that
Sorry.
that's a bit, yeah, exactly, like Dante fucking Hicks. That pissed me off about him too. But the book continues, and it just builds this tension. And unlike a lot of these other books, I really cared a lot for Nash. I really liked her plight, and this whole thing about her being watched through her contact lenses, and all these people that pretended to like her that then just turned and shit on her as soon as they had an opportunity to say something in front of a camera, just made it all too real and all too terrifying. That really set this as one of my favorite books of the year it came out. And it's always ever prevalent, even though, like I said, it's a nuanced technological book. The technology plays such a terrifying part to it that I think it really, really qualifies it for this list. How do you guys feel about it, Joey? You want to jump in on this book?
Yeah, this book hooked me right from the get go. Like that intro to the story was great. I love that where the actress come home. I think she's an actress comes home and looking for her son, and he's not in his room, and then then you have the first introduction of the theme, like you said, when you have an obsessed fan, a stalker, and boom, right there. It just right off the start, you're like, oh shit, this is going to be pretty intense. And it just hooked me right from that first intro to the story, which was great. The art is just twisted at times where it's off-putting, and the characters, you just feel for them. Like it's so well developed that you just it almost pisses you off at times with the situations. Like example where the show she's on, the main the host is called Jade, right? Jade,
Jad,
whatever you want to
it's
call him.
fine. Yeah, Jad, yeah.
Jad, where he's ready to you know own up to what he did and stuff, but no, the producers and the lawyers are there. No, you can't do that, you can't do it. He was going to come right out and say, yeah, I did do this, it was wrong of me. uh like he says, he can't even look himself in the mirror, but so many people are telling him not to. Just fight it, even though he knows he's in the wrong. Then from the peer pressure, he succumbs to all the lawyers, his ex-wife, telling him to just throw her under the bus. And in the end, he ends up doing that. But in the beginning, you think, oh, this guy's gonna, he's gonna fess up to what he did and own it. And you like, you kind of feel like, oh, he's not as much of an ass or a douche as you might think. But no, doesn't turn out that way. And then the
What do you
wheels
think
just
about,
fall off.
without giving it away, what did you think about the big twist at the end? Who the stalker was? Wasn't that just done perfectly? And for you, Joe, or I loved it. I liked the they how they portrayed that. But
Yeah, it was really good. And yeah, this is this was made like it reads like a movie. Like it's like the way it's set up, the way they foreshadow, they come back, and it's set up just like a movie. And I loved it. It was really good. Like the descent into like where she just goes into her shell, right? And she locks herself in her apartment. Her friend comes over. There's trying to get her out to go see the world, and she just, because of social media, it's always present. It's always there. And there's always going to be people that come up to you and want to talk to you about it, even though you don't want to talk about it. So it almost forces you to become a shut-in and no longer interact with the outside world. So it's definitely a great story that touches on a lot of aspects of just
one
how
of my
shitty
favorite
it can be.
things about it, though, is when this book came out, it was still really popular. Because this was a little bit before Me Too broke through, so slut shaming was still a really big thing to do to famous girls when they got outed. And I'm really happy that since this book's come out, that's kind of been a thing that doesn't happen anymore. That like they're actually believed as victims when actually it's perceived that they were victims before anybody takes the dude's side now, which I kind of find relieving because this book terrified me, made me scared for my sister and my nieces and stuff like that are out there working in this fucking world, what they'd have to put up with.
Hmm.
And you, Miss Beauty Queen, with them fabulous nails you got all did, man, what do you think?
Um, I was so impressed by this book. This is one of those ones that, with a couple of the ones that we did this episode, that I did not know anything about going into. I got a synopsis of Friendo before I read it, and so I had a little bit because I read the plot on Comixology. However, um, before I go into what I loved about the story itself, the thing that grabbed me is after each issue, they interviewed a woman that's kind of in the geek world, that is a mostly male dominated world. Like they talked to Teenie Howard, they talked to a woman in the gaming industry. They give these very in depth. I don't know if I'd call them interviews, but more like a statement. And like with Teenie Howard, how she expresses that she's always loved comics and she has always gone to cons, and she used to do cosplay. And she mentions that you're in a male-dominated place, and they don't think about the work you put into your cosplay. They just see a barely legal girl in a Sailor Moon outfit, and they think they have a reason to be close to them because of being in that same area, but it gets creepy. And I think this story does such a good job. Like you said, it came out before the Me Too thing, and it does such a good job of what victims of sexual assault and sexual crimes go through, especially in the day and age of technology. And especially, like you said, with the slut shaming, like these people didn't know anything about her. She was involved in a consensual, sex with somebody that she trusted, and they betrayed her trust. And the entire world is calling her a slut for it. And at the same time, she's dealing with losing her lover. She's dealing with her friends being too preoccupied with their occupations to try and help her or let her confide in them. She's dealing with so much, and it breaks
And she's
her
being
down.
stalked on top of that by a psycho. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing that I really enjoyed about the we've touched on social media in a couple of the books that we've talked about this episode, and like this book is what personified the dangers of social media out of all the books that we've read, and it really does such a good job because she keeps on going online and seeing these comments and hearing about it on the news. And I just couldn't imagine like my exploits being exploited in that sense. And like Joe said with Jad, where he wants to do the right thing, but then he's persuaded to be a piece of shit. And they're talking to him like, oh, dude, you're going to be a god because of this. Like, you know, people are going to love you, this, that, and the other. Well, at the same time, they are absolutely fucking destroying Nash. She's dealing with so much. And I think it paints a very good picture of victims of sexual crimes, whether it be digitally or physically. You've been violated either way. And as much as she was violated, and she's not only dealing with that, but she's dealing with the fallout from that, where the entire world is judging her for what the entire world does. And of course she would break down. Not only that, but if somebody's microdosing you with LSD every day, of course you're going to have a fucking breakdown. And I thought it was a very good portrayal of how, you know, we talked about the dehumanization in when we talked about Crowded, but you really get a better sense of it from this book because at the end of the day, she's a person. She had an act of consensual sex, but also was violated by being recorded. And the entire world is judging her from not even a lapse in judgment. Like, I wouldn't even call it a lapse in judgment because she did nothing wrong. And the victimization and how she was just shunned by everyone was so realistic, because you look at things that are prevalent now, you see people, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but you see people like Brock Turner, who wasn't just accused of things, like he was actually caught sexually assaulting a girl and spent less than 3 months in a county jail, and then was allowed to go around the country and give college students lectures about the dangers of alcohol. And you really get to see in this book how they place men on a pedestal because men have needs, which is a direct quote from the book, and women are seen as less than. And so
And
it's
objects, yeah.
yeah, and so it's easy to slut shame and call her a whore and a slut and all this other stuff, while we've got him on the other hand who actually did wrong by recording her without her knowledge, and he, I wouldn't say gets away with it because we all know it happens to him, but he benefits from it. And I think it shows, I think it is very good at pointing a spotlight on a very big problem in not just our country but around the world, and the problems that women face, not just with coming forth with accusations, because when she came out after the sex tape was leaked and made the announcement that hey, it was him, she shunned and called a whore, while he is seen as just a regular dude. It's what men do and this, that, and the other, and like that's not what
Well, at least a
men.
little bit of that's been undone, though, thanks to Me Too and everything. Like that's the good thing,
Yeah.
because this book did come out a little bit before,
Mm.
like the what's it called, the reckoning for that shit came out, but it foretold it in a way, you know what I mean? Because before then, yeah, dudes could skate. You could come out and say like, no, she's lying, she wanted it, and like everyone would be like, okay, you heard him. But now it ain't that cut and dry, and at least we have that going for us, you know what I mean? We have progressed a little bit since the release of this, so that gives me a little bit of hope, you know what I mean? It honestly does.
Yes. But the problem with it is, man, and like, I don't know if Joe has a sister, Joe has a wife, Johnny, I know you have a sister, but for the most part, like, talk to any woman that you're close with and ask them about a situation like that. And it's, the results are like one in five women have been either sexually harassed or sexually assaulted. And when
I
you
think
look at
all
this,
of them have, just some of them don't want to admit to it, man.
well,
Like,
yeah, exactly.
you know what I mean? Like, in
And
some way or another, even if they don't even realize it, I guarantee you, probably every woman in the world's been sexually
yeah,
assaulted in some
and
way
and
in
this
their
book,
lifetime, which is tragic. You know what I mean? It really is.
and that's what I love so much about this book, and that's why I started off with what I was saying. With at the ends of the book, they talk to a woman in uh in different fields of expertise. Like they talked to Teenie Howard, they talked to a woman in the video game industry, and we've all seen what just came out about all the Blizzard stuff, about all the sexual harassment and stuff there. And like it really
Oh, the video
gives,
game industry and the video game culture is horrible for it, man.
yes,
Like, if comic book fans have a problem with it, like it is a real cancer in the
rampant.
video game sphere.
and
Yes.
and so like it really does give especially me, like, and I'm not saying I didn't have a good perspective of the struggles that every woman goes through, but it gives you an insight onto not just what they go through, but how people react to them when they go through something like this. Oh, what were you wearing? And oh, you were drinking. And like it I don't know, man.
Does that
It's
matter? Like, what,
yeah,
they can't be
exactly.
pretty and they can't have fun too? Like, get out of here with that crap, dude. Honestly,
Exactly.
nobody deserves to be hurt just
And
because they were
so
pretty.
I I I really enjoyed this book. It was actually a hard read for me because when you think about all of the implications of what every woman goes through and how it was happening to her and it was ruining her life, like that's it. Yeah, it was technology and stuff, but even before technology, like that is the struggle of being a woman. And I think this book really did a good job of putting that on paper, and I thought it was very good. And then you had the aspect of the
And then you
stalker,
have
like
to deal with the stalker, which is even more scary. Yeah, which I don't even know how girls can deal with going through that in life and recovering from it. Like, that is probably one of the freakiest things I think a person could have, is a stalker in their life. You know what I
well,
mean?
and when
I
they
guess
have that,
guys can have them too, but I, I don't know. Like the
But
well,
ones like in this book, the ones that you hear about and you see YouTube videos for, like, oh my god, dude, like those, and they never get
well,
any time in jail and stuff. It's
not
so
just that, but like
unfair.
that conversation that he has with her at the end, where he's like, I know that you take an extra scrap of bacon and you give it to the dog, and I know this and I know that. And like, these people really think that they have a connection with them. And it is absolutely insane because, like, you may know a lot about a person, but you don't know the fucking person, especially like internet personalities. And so it really does, like, it is a cautionary tale, not just of being a woman, but being a woman in the digital age, where you may be having fun and posting stuff on here, and this is not me saying that women shouldn't be posting whatever the fuck they want, but it's a cautionary tale of the men who take that as being closer to that person and almost dehumanizing them in the way that we talked about in Crowded, to an object where I know everything about them, and
I
so we
love
must be in love.
that for him too. Like, you give the bacon to the dog every day, and she's like, "Yeah, you know why I do that? The little fucker bit me. I'm trying to slowly kill it by giving it the bacon. You don't know shit about me. I'm an evil person. I'm an asshole." I love Nash. She is such a gangster, and like, yeah, her retort to him. You thought that you knew anything about me by that action? Like, you didn't know shit. I
It,
didn't like that dog.
it bothered me because, like, it just the same way that Monolith bothered me because I have a kid. I've dealt with some stuff recently. I know I've talked to you about it, Johnny, and like, women around the world don't have safe fucking spaces. And you have these internet creeps and you have these people that do these things that violate women, and they're not seen as violators because it's boys will be boys. And it's
You
a
better
very,
not let me see you do it. I'll call you the fuck out, man. I ain't
oh,
got none of
fuck
that type of
yeah.
those type of hang-ups. That's
No,
for sure.
exactly. And I feel more comfortable now that we have a society that is willing to say, because I saw a post about it today that was like, oh, what happened to the old ways? And the old ways was women weren't allowed to vote, women weren't allowed to have bank accounts, women weren't allowed to have fucking houses. And now that they have the exact same rights as men, they don't fucking need us. And so, like, if you're not treating a woman correctly, they can walk the fuck out the door and probably be better off without you. And so when
Well,
you
I mean,
have,
one of the things that I always bounce back to is look at their comic book art. Look at how sexy they draw girls in comic books. Like, all of my favorite comic book artists draw girls way hotter than any dude ever. Like, we were talking about Jim Lee the other week and his women and stuff. Like, I guarantee you, put like Peach or uh, Maria Lovett, like any of the Jen Hickman, any of the lovely
yeah,
ladies that are drawn great books out there, and they're the way they capture the female form, and I appreciate it a lot, and I really like the stories that they tell. I love the fact that it is okay for girls to be nerds now. Like, I don't know why it was so scary for men nerds to let girls be nerds too, but
well,
fuck the
I think
people that thought that they shouldn't be, because
I
it's
think it was less of a men who are afraid, but men being creepy fucks, keeping women away from those spaces. I'll tell you what, me and Dakota went to an anime con a couple of years ago. Dakota and her sister were in the bathroom, and this guy was like all up over this girl, and I could tell she was distressed. She was not comfortable with the situation. And I walked up to her and I went, "Oh, hey, it's been so long since I've seen you. How have you been? Like, it was so good seeing you again, this, that, and the other." And like, that dude walked the fuck off, and I was like, "Look, I'm not trying to be creepy or
well,
anything. Like, I could
you
tell you
scared
were
them
in
off, so
trouble."
that's good.
Exactly.
Awesome.
And like, that's the thing. And like, the problem with it is not that women weren't nerds and women weren't into video games and women weren't into comics or women weren't into anime. Those weren't spaces where women were felt safe to be in. And so now that, like, we have a culture where women are allowed to speak out and they're not seen as less than, that is the culture that we need. And this book really puts a spotlight on the way that women are treated in those, just with social media and stuff like that. And so I think they did a really good job with it. This book was jarring in the sense that as a man, I don't experience those things. And this book I wouldn't say opened my eyes because I was already aware of what they go through, but it was a very good indicator of
It puts
what.
you in their shoes. I felt
Yes,
the tension. I felt scared with Nash when the big climax was happening, and
yes.
I felt bad for her when her
Well,
friends were shitting on her, except for the one guy that did come get her out of jail after she broke up the dog skeletons or whatever those were. Man, that scene is hilarious too.
well,
She's a great character.
okay.
Like
That
honestly,
scene.
this book is so much fun, and the
That
characters are so great, especially your main
yeah.
character. You will have a blast with Nash. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Even though she is a tragic character, she at least has a little fun on her journey, and you have fun with her on it. So
And she's a
there's that going
badass.
for it.
But
And she's
it,
badass.
Her and
it
V are
also
badass.
it also touches on toxic relationships too, because the relationship she has with her girlfriend, I would not say is healthy at all.
Yeah, the way she just left like that. I mean, that's not
Not just
cool.
that, like altogether. Like I would not stay with that person at the end. Like at the end of the book, that would not be something that I would. That is not a healthy way to handle any kind of situation. That
Yeah,
you know,
jealousy,
you
jealousy in any relationship like that is. I don't see it as far fetched. I understand why V would be mad at her, but also she
why
did try to explain it
Why?
to V. No, okay, here's
why you're with someone and you expect to be able to tell them things in your past as confidence. You confide in them, and if they judge you when you do it, then that person doesn't really love you. All they care about is their fucking selves and the bottom line.
fair.
That's not a healthy relationship. That's a toxic relationship.
No, I agree with you on that. However, she did try and tell V what had happened, and I think if that would have allowed, if they would have had that conversation, it wouldn't have been as jarring as it was. But if you're with somebody and a sex tape gets released, I mean, in my mind, I would say, oh, I'm here to console and stuff like that. But also, like, I can understand. I don't think she meant to be gone as
If
long as she was. She was tied the
if
fuck up.
If I drugged Pat, she would have a hard time forgiving me for that. I'm sorry. But if I
Yeah.
did that to her, she probably would
Well,
not be able to forgive me for that. I'm sorry. That is
V
completely
wasn't
fucked
drugging
up.
Pat.
That
Not
is
Pat.
fucked
Sorry,
up.
V wasn't drugging Nash.
It wasn't
V
her?
was no. It was the stalker.
Oh,
The
okay.
stalker was holding V up. He had her tied up. She had to leave the house to think after the sex tape was released. And she got tied the fuck up, which is why she said, yeah, I'm sorry I got tied up. And I hate that. I mean that literally. V wasn't giving her LSD. That whole confession was at knife point by her stalker who was doing all this stuff to her.
Okay, I
That's
missed
what I'm
that
saying.
part.
Like, V saying
I
she
didn't
needed
like that
time.
she left, period, man. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, like, she literally said that it happened before I knew you. So, like, why would you get mad at them about that? They didn't cheat on you. Then fucking
No,
get
not
over
at all.
yourself.
You're right.
And
You're
she
right.
knows she's bisexual, so she knows she's probably been with other men too. I mean,
Well, not just
she
that,
got
but
into that relationship knowing that.
and that's another thing that she said was I told myself I would never be with somebody bi again because my ex left me for her ex-boyfriend. And so when her and V get into that argument, when V left, I honestly believe it was for V to cool off. But I don't believe she was gone for so long because she was trying to avoid her. She was gone for so long because as soon as she left, the stalker snatched her up and tied her up. The same way he did that cop watching Netflix in the back of the car, which is why at the end,
Oh, man,
when
that cop was such a good character, too. Man,
Mhm.
he. What was his name? Yeah, with the country, the country name. Oh,
oh,
man.
well,
Yeah,
and
the cop
that's what I'm
was
saying.
hilarious in this.
While we may see it as toxic, when you put everything together, that the stalker had tied her up to keep V out of the situation to make
She was
Nash.
a bad girlfriend, Goose. In the story, dude. Like, you could. I don't know where you're trying to go with this, but like honestly, like if your girlfriend needs your help, man, you don't be like, oh,
Especially,
but I'm sad, I'm
es-
leaving.
especially in a scenario like that where it's made public like that,
Yeah.
where you know she's gonna, and Yeah, that was not
No,
cool.
and I agree with that. But that's what I was saying. Like, I don't like the fact that she left like she did. But her being gone, she wasn't drugging Nash. She wasn't doing any of that. That was all from the stalker who had kidnapped V as well. And so, like, her leaving to kind of clear her mind, like, sketchy, yes, but at the same
That's
time,
not
like,
cool.
there wasn't good communication
That's
in
where
that
I'm
way.
leaving it.
Yeah, you're right. But this was such a
But
good book. I'm
yeah,
so
and I
glad
mean,
they
like,
read it.
for a thriller, it just really, really works too. I mean, it would make a seriously awesome film. I wish Netflix would get a hold of it and like get a good cast on it, because it reminds me of one of my favorite movies, Strange Days. But like,
Was
it's
that the
just as
D. Snyder
topical as
flick?
that. What?
Wait,
No,
no, that
Strange
wasn't.
Days was directed by Catherine Bigelow, dude. Like, it's like a movie
So
about
I'm thinking
New
of
Year's.
Strangeland with D. Snyder. I'm sorry.
Strange Days is with what's his name from the Harry
Reese
Potter
Ifans.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The one with where they put the thing on their heads and they relive memories. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
And what's her name?
I was thinking of Strangeland with D. Snyder, where he kidnaps the cop's
yeah,
daughter
I've
and like.
seen it. Yeah, the bad version of Nightmare on Elm Street, basically. But yeah,
Yeah,
and this happens to famous people too. Like one of my favorite musicians, the drummer Meg White from the White Stripes, she had a sex tape leaked and it ruined her career. She quit doing music with the White Stripes over it. You know what I mean? Like it terrified her. That somebody betrayed her trust like that, and yeah, it's just terrible, man. But this book, Joe, you were gonna say something?
the detective's name is Grover.
Oh, Grover, yeah, and he kept talking about his redneck family, man. He was a classic character. This book, yeah, it's like a really solid film on paper. We say that a lot, but that's just the way comics are, especially these graphic novel style ones. They're written to be cinematic, and I kind of like it that way because, man, it's nice and punchy like a film, like a nice. And this one has a nice runtime. It's like you watched a good 90-minute long film that really hit its points well.
Mm.
Number one
Yeah.
with a bullet.
Oh, dude, it's so
There you
good.
go. It's really good.
Heard of it. I'd never heard of it before you suggested it, and like, dude, it's shot its way up on my comics chart. Like, it's definitely in my top 20. And not
Yeah,
just because of the story.
it was probably my
Oh, go ahead, Joe.
it was probably my favorite book of the bunch that we covered tonight.
Yeah, probably mine too. Still, it was mine when we went into it, and probably coming back out of it, it still is. Because I mean, it's just powerful to me. Like I didn't expect it to be as good as it was when I got the first issue of it. It's one of the ones where like I checked it out before I got the trade, and like I was blown away, like you said, right off the bat, because it reminded me a bit of the opening from Sixth Sense, but it's even more
Yeah.
impactful the way that it's
Mm.
done because it's just it's not that the way that he blames her, it's a lot more. There's a lot more conviction, and it's a lot scarier than the scenario in Sixth Sense because there's a power dynamic between the two of them, and it's a terrifying opening scene, but with a paranoid schizophrenic with a gun and a famous person, and yeah, man, it makes me kind of not ever want to be famous. How about y'all?
I don't know, man. I would probably put $1 million hit on my head to be famous.
We know that.
Mm.
Better get yourself a hot bodyguard though, too. Though, Joe, you got any last words?
Yeah, man. All these books were great. So if you can get through our Snyder cut of an episode, all 3 hours of it, man, go pick these books up.
Right. Damn, we did go for that long. Whoops. Hey, man, thanks for all you people that stuck around. We had actually pretty good viewership this entire episode, which is killer, iller. Um,
And we're
yes,
supposed to
Joe?
cover Bite Sized by Cullen Bunn and I Breathe a Body by Zach Thompson. But we'll cover those books we'll keep them for another episode. So we'll definitely cover those at some point. But I mean, we're already running at 3 hours. So I think we'll put them off till another time.
Right. Like we
Yeah.
said at the top of the show, next week we will be having Aaron Reese on to be interviewed. He is a very brave, very strong creator. He's going to tell us his story, how he got into crowdfunding, which is really, really interesting. I don't want to ruin it. So join us. He writes Black Blizzard. It's a Kickstarter book. The second issue is going to go live in a week. Keep your eyes open for that. And then the week after that, we have the one, the only, the amazing John Lees joining us live for a sit down and chat. We're going to be going on earlier than usual. It's going to be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But hey, man, he's in Scotland, so we got to accommodate our brother across the pond for being cool enough to come and talk to us. So that's going to be super rad. But yeah, this is Pink Buzz, a product of graphic vandalism. That means don't stop reading, don't stop watching awesome music, and don't stop listening to awesome movies. And I did that just for you, Goose. I said it wrong on purpose. Pow pow. See y'all later.
Wendigo. Wendigo.
Windingo. The Windingo himself.